She just wants 1,100. Like cutting. So we need to change that. Like,
We're the building department, right?
We are about to start building plan, but we'll update you first on where Kelly found out here.
Oh, yes.
Everybody's right. Kelly, you caught up with all that?
I think somebody's making sure.
Yeah. Edna Dole. Edna Gleason. Old names, aren't they?
Who probably Dudley hasn't owned anything there for 100 years.
Lester. We got a Lester.
The pipes are still there.
Ours is a Highland Suite. Okay.
So you can call as best I can on what Jeff told me. Or you want to go first? Well,
I can, whichever way you want to do it. If you want to go first, then I can get some of these to make sure we're all looking at the same report. Because apparently it would have to be nice if I had the right report in front of me when I was trying to figure stuff out for you guys.
So then if you all have your letter from Jeff, does everybody have a copy of that? Email, yeah, it was emailed on August 28th.
Oh, I'm not big on my emails.
So he pointed out that it's kind of like what you can do and what you should do. So what we should do is stick with his fiscal plan. His fiscal plan allows for 3% growth across the board.
3%.
The personnel, supplies, all categories, 3% total growth. That's based on our cash burn rate, what we've been doing, and that's factoring that, ARPA money, these kinds of things that have come along, COVID relief stuff is not in your sustainable budget. So to be sustainable on what we've done in years past, the budget estimates going forward, and I've got to pull that out of my bag at any time, but in the plan, his advice was stay to a 3% growth. You'll grow back into your shoes because we're allowed 4%. We got 4% growth coming in. Like I said, if you want to look at it just in general, that's where we should be. But then we've got all these other factors that we want to take into account. When it comes to personnel services, if we want to address the pay parity piece, I suggested to him, if we did decide we're going to try to tackle that, I don't feel like an apple has to be eaten all in 1 year, right? And he goes, no, you could get there over 2 years or 3 years if that helped you get there at more of the affordable pace. But we've got some excess revenues right now that we can apply however we want. So if the way to help assist the highway department is to fund capital projects or cancel capital projects, fund them from another fund other than where their source of funds is, like ARPA, like some of our excess in general, whatever, to take pressure off MBH. We got to do something to get MBH solved and or cancel some capital projects. Okay, so he had in his letter to us said that fiscal plan 2025 revenue after updates with lit certifications is estimated for general, health, aviation, public safety lit, $20,295,000 essentially, which is a 6.2% growth or $1.184 million more than the 2024 budgets. And he said, I said, why aren't you giving us a breakdown? Just general, just whatever. And he goes, the reason I lump those together is because if you want to do an across the board thing with wages, that gives you the pool of the 6.2% more money that you can do it with. Okay. I said, well, the problem is you threw health in there, and health is kind of its own separate animal because of what they did, we okayed with the health initiative. So you'd have to back that fund out of it, but he's basically saying, across all those funds, you have to cut 1.145.
One, 145. That's it. 1,145 is your.
One, I rounded it, $1,144,479 in order to equalize the 2025 budget to the anticipated revenue. Okay? Got that? That doesn't just have to come out of general, and as you could lump in, all those funds, and some of those funds you should have some access to help with.
General and what were the others?
So general, health, aviation, public safety lit. And so he says if county stopped its $950,000 rainy day fund contribution and kept non-personnel services budgets to 3%, so everything outside of personnel services kept at 3%, and continued to produce historical unspent appropriations, stuff that we carry forward, then the FY 2025 personal services budget growth could increase to approximately 8% and then return to a 3% annual growth rate after 2025. Historical unspent appropriations are expected to be about $1 million per general. And that helps in our cash balance. Our bond ratings, everything is dependent on our liquidity. And so that's our historical, what we've had. Further, an 8% personal services budget increase to the MVH fund makes that fund more unfunded and will likely require some alternative funding to maintain current anticipated services or budget cuts in personal services.
It came to us in August, but
Yes, at 11:12 a.m. I'm sorry, it came to Kelly, Nicole, and Amy. And they forwarded it to me, so we
We
can
did.
forward that to you guys, yeah. Or we just make a copy of this, but that's on top. So that's why I said when we left sessions, when we left our hearing, I said to Kelly, based on that, here's the list of what I feel like we need. Get to the number to cut, take the duplicates out, so we're working through that right now. So tonight, when we're done, these gals will do their grinding like we do every year, right? And they'll know what we've said, okay, this is how, where things are duplicated and everything. On personnel services, I asked that they give us, and Aaron's got the spreadsheet for us, 3 to 5% all the way through. So we've got, as we look at every percentage of what we can do in wages, you just need a number. And that number including taxes and perf, right? So if we give 1% more, this is what our payroll currently is, that's another $350,000. So that's kind of the way we've done it every year is we've had that easy number just to think about when we see we've cut enough and we've got some room, we can look at percentage. I know it's going to be layered in with parity and all that stuff this year, but yeah, and I said, let's leave in public defender office just so that we have it in there for conversation. And take out all extra positions so we can look at your budget and then decide if we can add in. Every time we add in positions, we take away from given raises. I think what else Jeff said, I mean, His recommendation at the end of the day is you pay us to come up with a plan, stick to the plan. Well, the forecasting, the modeling that they have to do to carry forward when we create all these new positions or we fund things the way we do, it's filled with a whole page of assumptions. And those assumptions that we're going to behave historically the way we've been behaving, right?
Yeah. Historically.
Yeah. And so, the 22 new positions or whatever happened in the last 2 or 3 years didn't follow their assumptions.
It was historic.
Yeah. Right. So, while we feel with great deliberation, we needed to do what we did, we've got to have the financial bootstraps now to support it going forward. So we don't leave future councils in a mess. Yeah. Every year. So I think your point was great earlier too about, moving that into $1 million into insurance when it's not a sustainable $1 million, but we're going to skin the cat one way or another when we get there. But it's just good thinking that, these extra funds right now are a blessing, but they're not what we're going to have to live on when they're stripped away. Kelly, if you would supplement that with what we'll come to more of a target, I think.
Okay, so George told me to be looking at Form 4B and not my Form 3. So here's Form 4B. You can put in front of pass one down to everybody so you can follow along with me. Yep, there should be enough for everybody there. Yeah. So I'll wait till everybody has it so you can.
Oh, we had it.
You guys have Form 4B?
You gave it to us just as we sat down.
Oh. Okay. All right. So I said, George, walk me through to give them a number on what I can cut or what they can cut for general fund. And I did print off, I don't know if you have those or not, probably not yet, because Dan had asked me about general, cum cap, and lit. So I did print off the other two. I printed off cum cap and lit. You got those two?
No. Okay, that was just her. She needs one of these, right?
The forms will all work the same. So basically, at the top, July to December of 2024, that is still, this is through the end of 24. We are anticipated in having $16,255,312 of revenues coming in by the end of the year. Then if we move down into expenses, these are our projected calculated expenses. So proposed through the end of 24, $10,215,630. And that was it. There wasn't anything else in any of those. When you subtract our revenues coming in and our expenses, that leaves us an estimated cash balance on December 31st, 2024 of $6,040,000 basically.
So I'm going to pause.
That's just 24.
Pause
Yes.
button right there. So actually, June 30th, we started with a cash balance of 8.8 million. And end of the year, we end with a cash balance of 6 million.
Yes.
It's 2.8 million cash burn. So that top category wasn't just revenues, it was cash balance plus revenues.
Yes.
Okay?
Yep. You good there?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then we move into 2025, our budget. So, where am I at? Where am I at? They took into consideration all of our revenues coming in. Property tax levy is anticipated $8 million. Property tax cap, that's our circuit breaker. A loss of $9,177. Miscellaneous revenues, another $10 million. So total budget year for revenues coming in, including, I don't think it included property taxes.
Yeah.
Did I have those on there?
Property tax levy.
Oh, right there, 8 million. $18,067,101.
So is line 13 miscellaneous, and is that your income tax and then other
All
revenues?
that, yep, all other revenues.
Income tax is lumped
Yes.
out.
So based on the budget that was presented, the $19 million budget, and our total revenues for 25, you would want to cut $1,312,311.
Where do you see that number?
I
You did the math.
I did the math.
Say that one more time, please.
1 million,
$312,311.
yes.
That's if we wanted to spend every penny we brought in.
Well, that's correct.
Right.
Yes, if you want to spend every penny. Now, because this form anticipates you're going to use up everything or spend everything, and because we had some miscellaneous revenue left up there, that $6 million, when it calculates out, it's going to subtract my difference there between line 14 and 15 from our $6 million up on line 9. So it's going to show at the end of 25, we would still have $4,727. But we don't want to, but that's anticipating we're spending every dime.
And if you look at the fiscal plan, I remember that because I studied that, those certain lines in the carry forward projections on that. And that's exactly where we had projected we would land on 25. Advise us to budget for 25.
We would land at the 4 million or?
4 million. Yeah. So, and that number is 1,312,311, and Jeff's number with health and aviation in there to cut was 1,144,000. They pretty much have our marching orders within $100,000. Yeah. Big thing is duplicates, and then the things that were way over in personnel and get to a baseline and know where we're at.
And is it too hard to pull wages back to what they are right now? To know
Yeah.
what that gap is between,
That spreadsheet from Aaron, I think it's got like what we did for 24. And then, so we'll know what 24 was, and then like the three, there's all different
all
categories.
right, because I'm thinking if we pull it out and then we can put it back in.
Yeah, we'll have to take that personnel number from 24 on top of everything non-personnel that we do right now,
Right,
then we'll know what we can put.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Does that all make sense?
Yeah, because before we really, we're going to decide, we're going to have a conversation about what the study gave us.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, lots of good personnel conversations we had. So, thank you, Kelly, for spending your lunch break doing that. I think between the two, we know what the marching orders are, but I'm just going to keep referencing the plan. And if we actually follow the plan and don't break all the rules like we did the last couple of years on a couple things on personnel, which we needed to do. I mean, we just had to do it. But if we leave future councils with a mess, we'll have to point back and say, but for these exceptions, we really stuck with our advisor's plan.
If we come out of a mess, we don't need to go back.
Yeah, we don't even go back to that.
What's alarming is a $2.8 million cash burn just in the first half of the year.
I think a lot of that was anticipated, just the positions and, probably, what we decided to fund for projects last year.
Less than 2.5.
Yeah. And, there's other tools we can talk about when I'm talking, this is non-personnel, so I'll just mention this, but a lot of these things we're funding that's burning cash, we could do public works spots on. Spread it out over time.
Like the highway or?
Some of the highway projects, absolutely.
Doesn't change the fact that that's still an expense to the constituents.
Sure.
So that's something that we all need to keep in mind, that
Greater.
just because we're able to shift gears and move in another direction, we have to be responsible
It's gonna be a balance of how do we be responsible to do our best to take care of our employees versus the projects we want to get done.
And some of this cash burn is what we knew we were doing with highway, right? Last year, we made the conscious decision to burn cash in highway.
We did. And projects, I mean,
Yeah.
geez, some of the Cume Cap and CEDAT projects, big numbers. Okabachi. Right?
Yeah.
You do that.
Her reaction.
All right, you guys want to jump in?
Let's jump in.
Page 29.
You put you on my head, Rick. That's scary.
Any little red marks.
I just have on professional services contracts again, so just outside of what the commissioners have and all the line.
Good question.
Because I thought they were on the same, it must be a different contract than the software that they're all sharing the same platform on. HPG.
Why is it so much if they've spent so little?
Well, right, and it went up 20% in the request.
Where are you at?
On 30503,
Building and plan, right?
yeah, page 29.
Those. That's the same amount. Commissioner's line item.
It was in the one line item, but I wonder if they're talking about the same thing.
Well, yes, because I think it got in. What was the rest of that contract? For fourth year, or third year?
It was 85,000 that we took out to zero. And 30,000 for the elevators. Moved them all to 115,000. In QCAP. We can table that question for Will when he gets back, you know.
I'm wondering if it was that ordinance enforcement. Yes, ordinance enforcement. There. 15,30503.
It was previously called.
Yeah. It was previously called ordinance enforcement.
Otherwise known as.
Professional services and contract was ordinance enforcement.
The new system must have just put that.
It put things in some really funky places. Merge stuff to get some stuff together and.
Why a lot of these things don't see history on them is because the account number the description didn't make sense. So we've had to move things around.
Yeah. Yeah. First year on something new. So you want to leave that?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, why do we want to leave it so high?
We have no idea.
We can historically see what they spent.
So, all the data, what we see is not, it's a merge of a couple things, right?
No, not if it gave us a 23 number, right?
It does, 23 and 24.
It's when it merges and it's weird that it doesn't give us the previous numbers, right?
It's about 3803 back in 2023. So far this year, 4,400.
I know they said they were planning on having the resources to do more of this now, but
Does that mean a person or what? Like, what are we paying for ordinance enforcement? Does that mean letters going out? What?
Maybe site visits. I don't know, it wouldn't be,
So I
Wouldn't that be
just need
covered
to make
under-
sure that I'm understanding the language. Is that 15,000 reflective of the services that, or the categories that were merged in of the 3,800? Are they equal terms, or is there more expenses and that's like more, because when you merged, yeah, so I just need to know that information.
No, just the one.
so that's the
It's
only
all
thing that would be
encompassing.
receipted against that would be ordinance enforcement.
So that 3,800 is a projection of 15,000.
Yeah, and they've
It's
spent
the same-
44 this year.
It's the same,
44 this year to date.
Yes,
is
yes,
that,
I know it's year to date. I'm sorry.
is that actively 4,400 year to date? Because that was year to date when this was printed.
That was printed.
June.
Can I get,
Why?
And what's the,
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
No, go.
sorry. What's the year to date on that line right now?
I have what they've spent year to date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have that they have spent $5,780.
1,300.
1,300, so,
I'd say leave 9 in there.
I think you need to get at least a 10.
Get to 10.
Yeah.
You good with that?
Bill, Ruth, Lisa?
I'm just still questioning,
She wants to know what it's for.
what's the expense? I mean, because if we're paying people to work in that department, part of their job is ordinance enforcement. So what's that paying
This
for
is not
directly?
paying people because
No,
this
it's
is
not
their
paying
thousands.
people.
I don't know if we actually expend money if people don't fix the property and maybe they leave the property, if we have to expend money ourselves, have it mowed or have a broken deck cleaned up or, bring a contractor in to do something.
Okay, that makes
That's a fair
sense.
question.
Takes quite a while to get to that point.
Yeah.
I mean,
We talked about years getting one house down.
yeah. So some of it's sending
Who's
out
that
letters.
person's liaison?
That'd be me.
We get an answer to that?
Yep.
Thank you.
Really?
So we'll come back to that one.
Yeah, let's come back to that.
Is it tire and like collecting, it's tires.
It was for their tire day.
What?
Should do that tire day out.
So cleaning up of the environment with tires. Makes sense.
So you still good with 10?
Well, years ago, they used to do 2 a year, and then they did 1. And they talked about doing 2 again because they had so many.
Tire days and dumpster days. I've got some really fun pictures of dumpster day. Don't matter when the dumpster's full, you just pile it outside the dumpster.
Oh, yeah. No. Fremont still does a dumpster day within their city limits. It's intense.
I'd say 10 to 12 then.
Well,
I'm fine with going back to the
12.5.
You want to do 12 or 12.5? 12?
Yeah.
Still need me to get an answer.
No. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That's right. That's a quick answer, wasn't it?
It was.
Thanks, girls.
Here we go. Give them off good.
Thanks in the right direction.
Yeah, I think this one, they were doing 2 a days, or 2 a year and then went to 1. Yeah,
Your history.
I think we're gonna be good.
Thank you. Amy.
Okay.
So
Yep.
what did you decide on?
Leaving 12, cutting 3.
Didn't they get new vehicles?
Not too long ago.
They just went to the commissioners yesterday about 2 new vehicles.
So that's that 70. So
Yeah.
that wasn't the 70 that we took out of the commissioner's budget that it's going to potentially be
Yes.
ARPA?
with the ARPA committee forward, commissioners have sent it to us for next Tuesday.
So since we took the 70 out, because it sounds like we're going to probably do it, and they probably don't need so much for their vehicle repair.
Oh,
I don't know what they have outside of vehicles. What do they have? Richard, do you know?
Don't want Richard today.
No,
Keep Richard.
no, he has to come sit by you if he turns into that. But they had,
Vehicle repair and maintenance, they've only spent $295 a day.
We can cut that to 3 easily.
Yeah.
Leave 3?
Cut it to 2.
Get it to 2.
I'm thinking too.
Okay, leave 2.
Okay.
35200.
Yeah, that moved up. 2,500 to 3,700. And they've only spent 535 year to date.
We did 3,700 last year. You mean the 2,500 they spent in 23? Jeez, I went back a decade. Does anybody have any aspirin? Or Tylenol or Advil or something? You do?
I do have my desk.
Will you get me 2, please, whatever you have? It would make my day.
That's.
I don't want cold medicine. That'll put me to sleep or make me crazy.
It gets age.
So what do we want to leave in
Sure.
continuing ed?
What's the current balance? We probably better ask that question.
Hey, Christina.
Yeah.
Her,
3,300.
yeah, crazier.
At least know who my liaisons are.
And can I have you look up a current balance when you have a chance?
Yeah, sorry, I keep losing connection
Oh,
for some reason.
All traffic needs to flow that way. No.
Yeah.
Got the green cord behind you.
I can't move.
Got you where we want you.
Thank you. She's happy.
Well, that's a big enough bottle.
She really got. Anyone else need? I just had a headache. Does anybody else need? Probably not for me to take care of everyone.
Coming online again?
Not yet, plug it in.
It's
Hey, you
okay.
wanna borrow our
No,
computers?
it's okay.
You're gonna have to change your internet connection though from Wi-Fi to Ethernet wired connection. You done? Let's try and get back to the last two.
Yep.
I have my cord. I'll just come in and sit around your desk.
Okay. Need an extension cord? Do you need an outlet?
There's one right there underneath that TV.
What did you want me to look up, Ruth?
Under the general and the fund commission, the 0079, account 38300. What has been spent so far this year now?
Looking at on my computer too?
They've spent $505.
Pull mine up and show me that.
No, you're good. I'll figure it out.
Everybody goes to fall conferences.
Are you saying the 3,700 liaison?
Or you can get back to, knock it back to 3.
We're talking back to 318.
Okay. Leave 3,000.
Which one is that?
38300.
But just with the little version now.
Is seminars different than continuing education?
Can be.
Looks like one of those that.
It's continuing ed that seminars.
Yeah, can you give me anything? I mean, what seminar do you go to that is continuing education?
Well, there's things that qualify for continuing education points or credits or there's some things that don't.
I was just curious. You can tell it's a new one. It's something that the system made, right? Because there's no history. Seminars 38301.
Made it last year.
It's previously called seminars. It existed. Do we ever spend money out of it?
We're talking about seminars versus continuing education. Is it the same?
Yeah, I'm looking. Thank you.
I don't know why I'm looking.
Let's do it. I say you.
We spent once out of it in 2012 and once out of it in 2019. That's it.
Go ahead to zero and see if they got enough. Continue ed.
Yes.
Yeah, that class is only every 6 years from 12 to 19, and you gotta call. Leave 0.
So another cut 700.
Yes.
Okay, we ready to move? There's another repeat of the lit fund, so you can see that we're building plan. Some of it's personal services paid for now.
And then the HPG line, right, that we already talked about, that needed to stay, that'll go away.
So all that, we've already messed with all that, so that the rest of this is all repeated.
Page 32.
Well. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I'm not keeping up in the book. The vehicles are there again,
Yeah.
under 40039,
Which was leaving
but
at
we,
0.
that we're taking to zero, correct?
On that Tuesday.
Where are you on?
Okay, 32 maintenance.
I guess we took it out of,
Improvement. All we're looking at is this deal.
oh, okay.
We talk about this.
So courthouse repair and maintenance went down, so we're not using the building, but judicial center, they put in 5,000. I don't know that we're gonna have much repair and maintenance on that.
Where were we at? Guys?
30050.
060, found it. You said it, I didn't. We just skipped way down. That's why I was lost.
And professional services contracts in there again.
That one needs to stay for they pay pest control and True Green out of there. So you did go through all that and double check those numbers with them and what they pay out. So it was a pretty good number.
And True Green, is that what you said?
Yeah, True Green and we've used for pest control, I think Charlie's. Is what we all use. And that's for all the buildings.
I use them too.
Okay, any adjustments there?
Well, do we think that we needed to keep 5,000 in repair and maintenance?
Everything the only thing I can think of that would be non-warranted with the building would be like if the, public nicks the corner of a drywall and they gotta have a drywall repair made, or, does something that's outside of warranty, like vandalizes a urinal or, I don't know.
Flushes the wall.
Filters.
Yeah.
Is there,
Probably not a bad idea to leave it in.
I'd say we buy
See what happens, right?
There's a lot more toilets in there because we went from 3,500 for janitor, supplies in the old courthouse to 6,500 in the new one. We have $3,000 more worth of toilets to clean.
we have a lot of bathrooms.
And that's janitorial supplies would be, floor cleaner.
Have their private bathrooms.
And we left 500 because we still haven't built
The
it.
jurors have private bathrooms.
Public is that courthouse.
How many trailers they had versus they have now.
The public has bathrooms. There are bathrooms everywhere over there.
There is.
Yep, there is.
And prisoners have a bathroom on each floor.
We think about how many toilets we're gonna have to clean.
Figure somebody can tell you how many there is.
Are we down on page 32?
I'm on page 33, Superior Court.
Lots.
Obviously, they talked to us about CASA services being landing in all of these. The transcripts under 35,100, the software.
Because that number will be able to come back down once they buy that software. Once they buy that, right? We talked about.
Name of it was, I just looked at that picture.
So we talked about briefly, CASA services going into a fund in probation.
There's some in probation. There's some,
But we talked about being able to have more absorption of that. If you remember our last council or our first brief session on probation and the judges came before us, I asked that question and that was a possibility. Do you guys remember that conversation or not?
Vaguely.
All I wrote down is we need to support that.
10,000. Thanks for paying attention. Appreciate it.
I don't remember.
I made a note
The
of
kids in parentheses.
in probation, coming up with that. Yeah. That we were possible adult user fees fund coming out of that instead of
What fund?
adult user fee fund.
What, can you give me a number?
So CASA comes out of that now, probation's only $8,000 worth.
But
You didn't give me a fund number.
having more of this expense line from,
So on page 37, there's a cost line.
I guess that
37 is.
there's a pretty robust fund or it was capable of maybe absorbing more of these out of the general. Do you remember that, Lisa?
I wrote it down too, adult user fund.
Maybe move more
Fees.
here from the court budget.
Yes.
Yes.
I had asked that question
Yes.
because I thought if we could have that absorb more of that. So, I mean, can we,
Oh, yeah, because they only, their budget out of there is 10612. Oh. The revenue in 23 was 123,399. So there's some room there, but in 22 it's only 54,000. I mean, there's a good healthy balance there. I just don't know if it's forever. If you go above what they take in, you could potentially. What have they taken in 2517 so far this year? 2517, the adult probation user fees. Can you tell me how much they've taken in 24 so far? I left that packet on my kitchen table. I'm sorry. Well, she gave me this information already. I should have written it down.
You said what they've taken in so far?
Yeah, in 24.
Okay.
So the notes I have about CASA across all three courts for their user fees is total of $68,250, and they broke it up between three courts for that money, because all counties pay the same percentage.
And probation.
So that's maybe the clarification, do we need this probation their own entity when it comes to dealing with CASA versus the three courts?
Probation's actually part of the court system.
I understand that. You understand my question, though?
I asked that question.
CASA is going to be used a lot more by the courts than it would probation because it's appointed for when
So
you're,
CASA being used by probation, that's their cost of what we're looking at versus the court system.
No, but I asked that question to her in front of the judges, and they all kind of shook their head that it was a possibility. So that's what we're trying to see if it can be, more can be absorbed.
So far, we've taken in $72,224.34. As of today.
100 and what? I said
$72,224.34.
So there's another question, is there any, since it's a special fund, is there a restricted use for it?
they already have CASA coming, they're part of CASA coming out of it. They're 8,000
Probation?
on probation, so it's already in there
Ken Moore is what we're saying.
and more come out.
So they're projected to do $110,000 if all the numbers jive and it's consistent.
Budgeted for 72 by last year.
As liaison, would you want to make a call on that?
I'm not to probation.
But I mean, we're talking about taking more off of the courts, right?
Yes, yes, there you go.
And that's Lisa, that's not me.
Probation is good.
Tony's probation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that changed.
Tony has probation.
I asked that one question to her in that session.
But at that time, it was a possibility, so I guess the question is do they have room for that in their adult probation fee?
Well, that answer that.
2517.
I don't know if they might.
Yeah, I believe they do. They take in around $123,000 a year. And they only budgeted out 102.16.
Okay, so as far as page,
Well, 72 for last year, I mean, 2024.
Yes, I apologize. I was just looking at what the requests were this year. But there was still room. I apologize. You're absolutely correct.
well, we know there's going to be the big increase.
No.
What?
CASA cost.
Yeah, no, I think his thought process was you take it. If they could take a little bit more of it, maybe you wouldn't have to take it.
Yeah.
Because you could use it out.
I just texted her and asked her. So she'll respond one or another. So I would leave that alone for right now. But I think all the judges were there that day and
They all.
they seemed to nod yes. But
Yeah, but mine is CASA, probably the biggest place to make a difference would be really comes out of circuit, right? Not out of superior.
yeah, but all that's
Oh, that's general.
right. And if we could take some of it and put it
Oh, I
into
agree.
restricted.
And Circuit put 45,000 in there for it.
Yes, they did. The biggest
They went
one.
from 20,000 to 45. You go on to page
So
34.
if we could put another 10 out of there into
Probation.
probation.
Come on in. IT is here for.
Yep. I like the way we're going with that, so let's get an answer and we'll revisit it.
All right. As soon as I get an answer from her.
So my question is, do you want me to tab Superior or do you want me to tab Circuit? Because Superior only had 5,000 in there. Do you want to just take it all, if we can move it, just take it all out of Circuit?
Yeah, it would make more sense to take that out of the figure. So, right.
Yes. I just wanted to know where to put my tab.
Anything else on page 37?
We actually go through all reports.
No, we're just on Superior.
We're just on probation, commission probation.
We finished circuit.
No, we're here.
No, yeah.
No, we're gonna go back
We
to
hopped from
Superior. We hop from
Circuit.
Superior to probation.
Yeah.
We gotta go back.
On Superior, 33.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, but we're done with that, correct? So we're at on page 34?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh,
We did.
I have one question for Aaron before we move. If we were to do the pauper council stuff, underneath that, is there under the public defender, I'm sorry, I used the wrong term. Will this, didn't he put in a line item for this pauper council stuff? Would this be able to come out of this budget if we did the other?
Vendors.
Yeah.
So he put in for mini contracts, I think, to handle some of those cases is what he did. So there's a potential that, yes, it could come out of the courts. Is that what you're asking?
Sorry.
Yeah, that was my question. My question was, if we did the other, this might be a place that we could come back and then take off because it would get paid through the other office.
Yeah, and so you also have the supplemental public defender funds as well, and they have proper counsel in there too. So just kind of depends on which way you guys end up going on that.
Did that make sense? Sorry, I'm ready.
Page 34. We talked about CASA there, 0048. They gave us a lot of detail on 30082 on the detention of juveniles and the special
Circumstances. Jeremy's brother,
Did we zero out that 20,000 then?
or to zero that. That court will be hearing those cases.
Yep.
Three zero zero eight two, detention of juveniles.
That's zeros.
Correct.
So then shouldn't have that went to Superior?
That's what I was asking. That's what I have that in my notes, that it goes to Superior.
That's what I have.
So did we add that 20,000 to Superior then?
We did not. And so it's a 3,000, so it would go to the 3,000s, correct? Thank you for
Yes.
shaking your head. Yes. And it'll all be general.
Put that back up there.
3,000. Well, they lowered it by 10, right? I lost it.
Correct. It was 30,000 last year, or excuse me, this year.
Got it for 20,000.
Next year.
I just went with the same number over.
That was all there? Oh, well.
I did two for now.
So you moved it into Superior Court, but it's a new line, right?
Just put the same item number that it was.
When you're all good.
$35.
Page 35. So
Professional services contracts.
why does it say combined Superior and Circuit for the pauper if there was a line item in Superior for the pauper? So in Superior 30023, we left 5,000. But this one 0300, oh, same number, sorry, says combined Superior and Circuit.
So we should be able to take that 5,000 out. That's what that one up, right?
Unless they're just allocating between the two.
5,000.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're looking at 1,200
Yeah.
defender services. I think that's essentially if we do this, all this, they're gonna combine everything. But then again,
It's combined.
notes in the public defender budget stating that you can remove some of the funds from circuit courts. So we've always had our council in the supplemental public defender fund, it's like a rainy day fund. So they probably just combined it because it was 6250 for each court.
Why is it, if it's 6250 for each court, why is there still 5,000 up here?
Are you looking at different funds?
I'm looking at two different funds. The general fund under Superior Court.
Because Superior Court has always had their own designated, Circuit Court has always had their own designated. Then what you're looking at then is in a different fund than the supplemental public defender fund where it says you can combine, and we've always had a separated in the supplemental public defender fund for Circuit Court and for Superior, they're combining them.
Okay, so you're, okay. So when did they decide to use them from the 1,200 supplemental public defender instead of from general?
The supplemental public defender fund is rainy day sort of situations. So say if the court runs out and they need extra funding, they can tap into ours. So we had that issue with magistrate where they don't have a lot of proper council funds. So they've been sending me orders from the court to pay attorney fees from the supplemental public defender fund, Palmer Council.
So does this, the supplemental public defender, do you have a certain amount that you make every year in there?
That is just, I believe that I'm trying to remember which fees go in there. You have, how much money goes in there every year? Because our reimbursements go into general. And I want to say the public defender fees are what funds this.
Like what we charge the defendant?
Like if there's $100 public defender fee, I think that's increasing though, from what I understand.
So far, year to date, brought in $17,286.
I'm sorry, how much?
$17,286 as of today.
So I believe that's the fees that are charged for those public defenders when they get their public defender fee, check mark, $100, whatever it may be.
I think we're leaving that alone then. So, okay, so I have a response from Pam. She says the judges are really in charge of that user fee budgets, not me. They have me present and prepare all the budgets. Judges actually sign off on all user fee claims. So she thinks it's better to you ask the judge. And Lauer's out this week, so reach out to Judge Fee. And just remind him of our conversation when they were all presenting in front of us. If that's all right.
Can we use adult user fees?
Can we use more of the adult user fees to offset some of the added cost of circuit court? Go for some other circuit court and put it in that
How
so
much
that we
is
can
the circuit?
treat it more general funds.
Maybe up to 15? Or up to 10?
I was thinking that.
All right, so hopefully we can answer that by tomorrow. On page 35. We look at, is that just an input because of the new software that we have no history of professional services contracts on that? 30503.
That's JDAI salary. That's what I noticed.
For which one?
Exactly 6250. Professional
Three zero
services
five oh
contract.
three.
Yeah, that's the 6,000.
Which you've got,
I had JDS, they're on the 50,000.
yeah, you've got it on 30503.
But
That's where I had JDAI.
Yeah, and that's that 6250 is on 380503.
You guys are looking at the supplemental public defender fund, though.
Yeah.
You don't do anything with JDAI on there.
So what is the?
What is it? We just want to know what it was.
That 6250 is typically that opera council, but it was combined, so I don't know. I gotta look at mine, but it's here.
What do you think they combined it, just forgot to take it back?
Yeah, I haven't visited this property.
Yeah,
Because we were.
yeah, because it was 6250. Historically, it's always been 6250 for circuit, 6250 for superior. It looks like it was combined and then also left separately.
We could strike all that.
The 6250. That's what you guys. All this.
I think all those pauper, it all depends.
But if we
If you
doubled it up on
combine
the
it-
top line, we should be able to strike that 6250. We don't need to add 6250 to their budget.
No, if you combine it in the one line, then I think that would be okay.
Yeah, the 30023 is 12.5, right? So
Just, yeah, as long as.
we'll just get rid of 6250 out of the 30503.
Duplicate.
It's, yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
All right,
0503 is the one we're getting. Which fund are we getting rid of it?
It's 35.
30503. That's what we're getting rid of.
It's the same one, it's just that.
That's every fund percent or the next tab.
Well, 35.
But there.
50.
That makes sense.
So,
okay. Page 36.
Probation. Oh, we're skipping the. For budget.
What's on your office? This is it's a doozy. Let's just. Leave the new form books in the back here. I think this is gonna be one that we might not do a lot with any of it until we figure out we're gonna do the office. Any comments or thoughts? Back out later.
come back to it. But I think this is more labor line than it is anything else, right?
Yes. I would say yes.
Sorry, Rick?
He said, but we'll need an office, but from what I understand, I think that there's an office that we already,
Yes.
yes. We already absorbed in somebody else's budget. It's an existing building.
Is that accurate, Aaron?
Oh, you have a lot of office space that is open and available. It's just.
If I remember right, Commissioner Howard had suggested that there was already a location that they had identified.
And something that we want to remember, right, is that 40% of everything we do there is refundable.
So, you know, the
So
utilities.
even utilities, so even if it's a place that we're already paying them, but we can move them into that space, we're already spending that, we're gonna get 40% of that back.
And they're also not looking for office space for like 9 public defenders. It's essentially just a chief PD and then the 2 paralegals and 1 administrative assistant. So it kind of be like the central hub. The other public defenders will still operate out of their own private offices because they won't be the full-time FTE yet. So that's where we're at with that.
We're gonna come back to it.
Oh, yeah. We're not doing that today.
On page 39?
39. Now, I had a couple that I showed that we had changed right away. Travel, when he presented, we talked about taking that. Talked about, 31200 from 2,600 to 1,300. Anybody else write that down? I wrote down back to 1,300.
Yeah, so I was the other one.
Yeah, then we said to go back to 75, but then if we're gonna treat it like we do everybody else's, are we gonna take that 75 and give them actually 90% instead of me accidentally taking?
So we take it down to 67.5.
Yeah,
Is that what we're gonna do?
I think so. Yeah.
67.5.
So
22300.
About 70.
That works for me. Gas and oil down to 7.
Yes. 20% some of these departments.
we're on EMS, we're on gas and oil, 22300.
Their professional services jump so much.
Budgeted we did last year, right?
70. No, they've already spent
Actually-
55.
Oh, I'm looking at the one down here.
Actually, I had a note on that back to 75 from the 90
Oh, you mean down there?
in the lit.
I had,
Is that what you were talking about?
yes, and then yes, we were talking about that. He said to change it to 70, that's what I changed it. Then I jumped back up, I apologize. Under the professional services and contracts, 30503, and it was budgeted at 95,000. Now it's at 109,250. I just don't remember, do we remember why?
No, but if you see, they expended already 55,000.
Plus the same ones down in lit public safety that they're asking.
That's 35,822. I don't remember him I remember him handing me his budget, but I
But if you look, 2023,
Well, they're looking at.
it was 78,000, then it went to 95, now it's 109.
Professional services.
It's the,
Went from 95 to 109.
oh, it's the Acumed contract? We switched from,
That's one that we got money. what we thought this would be appropriate money back into if we flow. So that's why some of those numbers might be weird.
Any of
They
this
do
is
their best.
presentation we sat through.
But it's just a matter of how many bills we make.
Yes, so,
Yeah, estimated. Increase
That's
in
just-
billing prices. should
yeah,
be
that's just
10%.
an estimation.
The hope is the more we bill, then the more we make, because then we pay more bills,
So
right?
that
And
line,
is any of this the striker conversation we sat through?
yeah, but they're talking about the 250.
It's any of it, she said the big one at top was Acumen. Where do we play Stryker out of?
Estimated increased billing prices for 24-25.
I just meant if it's the billing company. Just meant that it wasn't for taste. The more you shop,
The more you save.
no. No, that is not how it works. But if you do send more bills, you should.
Okay, so are we leaving gas and oil at 70 or?
70.
Yeah, we were good with that. We were just trying to figure out if this number, this lower one in lit, if that was the striker or not.
Back to the gas and oil, I broke down 75 for our conversation.
Yeah, because we originally had 90,
I have
and that
75
was
written
before
down.
we started
So he
session.
was 75 and then he went to 90, but dropped it back to 75.
I used 68 the year before.
60,151, 68.
Right. Gas was higher then.
I think
Okay.
I can come get an opinion, right?
Yeah, and we really, really have to talk about the next fund, 1236. Because they have budgeted 1.6 out of it, and it only brings in, Kelly gave me a sticky, $1,130,319. That is not a sustainable number.
Okay, can we hold up for a minute?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nope, I just need to make sure that you guys are cutting the 90,000 back to 70 and not 75.
Correct. I had it at 70.
I'm done. Thank you.
But something from here has to go back up, I think.
And did we figure out if striker presentation is in this budget book?
I don't think it's in this budget book.
Yeah.
I don't think it's in this budget book going forward. Because he didn't have that when he submitted his budget.
So does that replace Acumen? I
No.
don't know, because
Acumed is the billing company. Stryker provides the equipment on the ambulances.
right, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Acumed is
I
the
just
one,
needed to know what Acumen was.
yeah, Acumed is our billing company. When we left, what was the name of the previous one that was a dumpster fire? You're just gonna go mad?
Yeah.
Go mad. Yeah.
So we can ask him questions if we need to.
So I think for conversation piece, so down here, either where we get under lit public safety or up here under professional services contract, not a general. We need to keep this proposal in the front of our mind moving forward, and if we're gonna try to do something with that going into 2025.
Okay, and I might be speaking out of turn,
And I don't think everybody's versed on the presentation.
but no. But the striker really is a more of a CapEx type of thing is, may I ask you? Yes. It's not built in anywhere. It is the number I try to tell everybody. I was like, are we gonna leave a cushion in there in the lit EMS of about that $450,000 a year to be able to figure out CapEx moving forward?
Okay, so aside from all that, what would be the recommendation to look at that moving forward?
Recommendation for
the striker proposal.
For the striker proposal, in terms of the,
If it's gonna be adopted, and where do we put it to move forward with it?
that's probably more of a capital item. So I would see it going into QCAP, probably. Although all the revenue from EMS goes to general. So that wouldn't be a bad place for it either.
It's not a subscription service, it's a,
Equipment replacement,
It's not
Equipment
dissimilar
replacement
to what we
slash-
have for the Xerox copies.
service.
You pay, you get brand new equipment every
it's like a lease.
2 to 3 years.
There is different options there.
How expensive roughly was it?
I haven't seen that. I take that back. I've glanced at the numbers. So I don't recall. Christina probably has them.
So I would, to be safe, to figure out what you're gonna do moving forward every year, I would say we need to invest around $450,000. It's gonna go up and it's gonna go down, but you need a fund there that is going to.
Every year?
Because you're gonna have big years where you're gonna get ambulances, and then you're gonna have a lower year. You're gonna need all new monitors,
You're talking about just CapEx. period.
CapEx
It's
for,
ambulances.
it's how I did it. Overall, around if we budgeted around 450, I think we could figure it out from year to year.
Might be a little high, but you're probably not far off. Especially if you factor in inflation.
That's what I tried to do. Remember I handed you that pretty, it was this big, I actually made a spreadsheet like Aaron.
So not to keep driving this nail into the piece of wood, maybe out of the fairness of everybody at the table. Outside of service contracts, maybe we have Jason bring that information tomorrow and present it to us. So we have an idea if we're gonna move forward with it.
Well, but some of it, no matter what, we're gonna have to move forward with it if we're in the business, if we're gonna purchase ambulances and stair chairs and monitors and Lucases and.
Like that.
He's just suggesting to allow us to all understand what Stryker's all about.
Everybody needs to understand it because we're in budget workshop and it's gonna be a budget item. That's where I'm going with this.
Jason ever get you the presentation?
He sent an email, well.
Oh, you responded and said there was nothing attached.
There's no attachment.
But he re-forwarded it,
Oh, did he?
yeah. So that's my recommendation about that, because I think it plays an important part of QCAP or general or whatever moving into 2025.
I agree. We need to figure out where we're gonna fund, do that.
So
So we're in agreement to move it forward and continue conversation.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, Bill.
good.
You're so smart, Bill. I'm
Take a
sorry.
little work on his part to do a cost benefit analysis of, right? Like, so here's what we're gonna spend on ambulances on average per year. Here's what we're gonna spend on all this stuff to keep doing business the way we're doing business. Here's what the program costs. What's the benefit to the program?
That was in the presentation.
Yep.
The program excludes the ambulance.
Hmm?
The program, Stryker program excludes the ambulance.
It doesn't have
This is just equipment.
I would love to hear the presentation if we can get that on schedule, because I will tell you, it's creating anxiety just thinking about this.
Everyone was invited.
Okay, well, some of us have other things to do.
Like, here's one option. Here's just kind of an overview. One option, it's option number 2 of this program presentation. It'd be 7 annual payments of $158,342. And that guarantees, $162,342. And that's new heart monitors, that's new cots, that's new lifting systems in the EMS, that's new, the CPR devices.
Lucas.
Lucas.
The Lucases, thank you. That's maintaining 2 heart monitors, one for the chase vehicle and one for a backup. But those won't be included in this. Those have, because of their age, they have to be under a separate service contract.
Is that the striker thing you're talking about?
Yes.
So what, and I don't mean to be that guy, but why are we even, if he's gonna present, I don't want to regurgitate this and,
I understand. I'm just giving you an idea.
okay, well, I mean,
That's the importance, I think, that we need to hear this as a board.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate that.
A little sick to my stomach hearing $1 million. That doesn't include an
Then
ambulance.
thank you, the ambulance,
Per
but the
year.
ambulance at the, all right.
Right?
And this is to add a new line, not one we already have.
It could be put into, I don't know if it could be put into professional services and contracts or,
It replaces the one that we have.
It can't replace those. Those have things that come out of them. I would think that it would be better as its own line item.
so, yes, I don't know, Kelly, that's above me. I'm just trying to emphasize the point. I think we need to hear it as a board before we get through this 3 days budget.
And it replaces the equipment.
Okay.
And
See,
that
do you
should
do
have
that?
a line item. It doesn't.
Someone reach out to
They
me.
can tell you what's up.
Looks like a best time of day. Right off the bat tomorrow.
I ran into the hallway a little bit ago. He was the only medical responder in the county at the time.
See what his,
Yeah.
feels like, what he looks like, then we can just pause actions when he is available, I guess.
I didn't see where he resent that, so
But
I didn't see where he resent that. Unless he just did to you.
So there's another third professional services contracts then under the EMS lit. You got public safety lit. For EMS professional services, 35,822. EMS lit. Fund 12,000.
That's for the IB tech classes.
Yeah, I believe that one is the IB, the 12,000 is the IB tech.
So is that in motion then? Is that happening now? The last time I checked, that was kind of on hold. So is that,
I think that would be a commissioner question. Did you guys get that all figured out so that we can start the IB tech student? To go,
We do not have the contract, I believe, yet, do we, Aaron? That's the only thing we're waiting for.
so, but it is a go.
Is there money to?
oh, he funded it, why don't you go?
Because I haven't heard otherwise.
Because it's been like trying to draft a contract on how to protect.
Did you, would you give me that revenue number again for the EMS lit?
1,130,319.
Same number we came up with when we got there, so.
So
$160,000.
it's gonna end up, I mean, it's like my, although my husband gave me a lecture and reminded me, he said, I didn't know your meeting was live streamed. You should remember that you're on camera, Christina.
The lawyer.
you should have it now, Rick.
Could you send it to me too? Thank you, Beth.
So
Okay.
I just.
1.6 is the expenditure line. Well, that's budget expenditure. So what is the,
Projected for 25 on EMS lit is 1,246,000.
What, oh, I'm sorry.
I just printed it.
How much?
246.
246,000?
Yes.
So that'll be the same for PSAP also.
Did they add in extra people?
Who?
For EMS?
But I have medical and EMT combined.
They combined.
They combined.
Okay.
They
I
combined,
think
didn't add extra.
Right, I think in the old system, it had them
Okay.
separated.
All right.
all right, so I can ask. So Christina, you suggested that we're running a deficit out of EMS lit, and what
$357,370.
so I was told $1,130,319
was what we showed this year was supposed to come in. They just gave us the new number of 1,246,000.
1,246,000. And you're saying the other number is what?
So if you take what they budgeted minus what they should get, there's a difference of 350.
What their 25 budget.
What their 25 budget is right now.
Okay.
I apologize. You're right. I took what their 25 budget was and it has wage increases in it. I apologize. I just knew there was no way that was sustainable.
Well, we knew when we tried to keep it easy on the auditor's office, tried to pick a couple categories and get over and get close with the number. I mean, that's what we were trying to do. So we might have to pay a couple of those positions out of county still. But obviously we paid them all out of county.
No overtime.
Yeah, that's about your difference right there.
That's a big old bill.
Move the OT over. We do have a 6-month cushion in there.
almost spot
That's the way we ran that. Right? We had a 6-month cushion in there that we collected.
Should have,
when we started.
yeah, the balance on the.
5 months or 6 months. I think we started June 1st.
It's in the.
It was, I think it was supposed to be June, but I think we had to push it back to July possibly. But yeah,
So it was 6
good 6 months.
Yeah, should be a cushion in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I can interrupt.
Yeah.
He's actually on his way over here right now.
Okay.
Jason is to give the auditor a check.
Okay. See how much time he has on his hands.
So
Oopsie.
I didn't spell anything.
for just shy of 139,000 for August collections.
Okay, you guys want to try to knock out weights and measures?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Because that one, too easy. 27%.
We're not doing wages today.
I
All
know.
right.
Trust me, I've already calculated all everybody's wages.
You want to do EMA?
Let's keep going until I get you. That's all right with you.
You gave a nice letter along with EMS there, describing the changes.
Which reminds me, did we find out, you told us EMA and the county park, they both had to go to blank. Did you find out whether or not we can count the house?
Yes.
I did,
Oh, we had it.
but I'm assuming we'll talk about that when we talk
Yeah.
about wages.
Okay, I just didn't know
We
if
did
we
get a
had.
response, yes.
Okay,
It's good news. I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
Depends on who it's for.
Depends on who's opinion that is. Just some bumps, training bumps. He explained these in his letter. Telephone, travel.
I think he presented that to us too, and then the 1644 was additional Surface Pro, right?
Yes.
The cellular Surface Pro, yes.
The only number I was a little bit concerned with was the vehicle repair and maintenance, $2,750. Last year was $842. He's got $162 year to date. I think that's a very aggressive number unless there's something I'm missing.
what fund number?
5200.
He has an older Tahoe. Still, was it last year and this year, he'd come back and ask for additional, get some major repair work done on it.
I'd have to go look, but yeah, we had to have quite a bit of work done to it this year.
So must not have been.
Just since
done.
June?
Okay, what's the account balance, or the expended balance in that line?
162.28.
Which is what it was.
That might have been paid out in one of our.
Oh, okay.
Well, that makes it hard.
Only takes one repair though to rack up a big bill.
That's the true statement.
So now we're on page 43, just one line, correct? Oh, no, there's one. The yellow line.
Page 43, Ruth? Yes.
The yellow line, but then
Tornado
also
siren.
the emergency plan right to know, that's him also.
And I had a, behind that 35, 100, can that go to PSAP? I wrote next year will go back. I don't know why I wrote that.
Because this year they have to do 7 sirens, where normally it's like 6 a year.
Oh, okay, so that amount, and then I had over here to the side. Is that one that can go?
No, you said no?
Well, it's communication.
I'm sitting there thinking that might be, I don't. That might be stretching a little bit, but it might
Communication.
be, yeah.
I would feel more comfortable if we reach, what's her name, Laurel? If we reached out to Laurel.
Let's check. That's a good question.
Question, Christina.
You had a question for me?
Great question.
Oh, I was like, I don't have any answers.
Nothing else on page 43.
You know, because nothing else there has to do with me, right?
From the LAPC and bottom, those are from a special fund.
Still 500, really be-
They said they talked to you.
So
Finish, let's just finish this one right here.
LEPC, he has, last year's budget was 8,700 out of that. It only brings in around $6,000. Does he slowly bring that down? It's only a 20
What's the balance? 27.
20-some thousand. It dropped from 22 to 23, a little, you know, $1,200. And then he went up this year to 11,000. So he'll be burning some cash there. Because does that come into the whole cash burn stuff when we burn?
Not a special fund.
Not out of special funds, okay.
So I don't see him ever getting any gas. I don't know how he drives the vehicle.
Where did you jump?
Going back to EMS,
So his fuel costs also, I got a note here, come out of his travel.
Travel and fuel,
Yes.
back on page 42.
Back on page 42 under general.
31200.
Yes,
Travel also includes fuel.
that's one of them that with this changeover. With the travel or something, I remember we talked about that.
So 31200 has gas in it?
Yes.
And where did you see the other one, Tony?
well, that was the question I
You
have.
didn't.
I said I didn't see gas anywhere.
Okay, I apologize.
Let's don't probably.
Just trying to make light of the situation.
I kind of got old, didn't I? There you go. No, so I mean,
Flintstones.
we get a couple $100 out of there.
I don't know.
Gravel, since we know that.
Oh, because we touched everybody else's gas? They're gonna just love you, Tony.
So 2,100? That's just $200, but it's $200.
Christina was
Oh, she was fighting for
$50
$10.
last year, I
Yeah.
think.
So I think I'm
I
fair.
did. I
So
did.
we're leaving 2,000, is that what we said?
I'm okay with 2,100. I mean, just do.
What are we doing?
Leave 2,100. Did Kelly get that?
No.
Okay.
I'm going backwards.
200.
Whiplash with this group.
Go up here.
Just take $210 out.
It's general.
You took it down to what?
How to be useful last year, Lisa.
Huh?
I said, that's all I knew how to be useful last year. Do you notice I didn't do as much of that this year?
No, you didn't.
I know a little bit more this year.
Database.
It is. It's grown a lot.
So page 44. Do the public safety, 38,000. He asked for a mass notification system similar to what the Sheriff's Department Act is.
I pause.
Always exciting to talk.
And so with that thought in mind, startup costs, and then from there, I can't remember what the yearly commitment
It's
is.
13,000 the first year and 4,000 annually thereafter.
Okay, thank you, Ruth. However, The reservation on my part, and I've talked with Lee, his liaison about this, is that there's only one other county out of 92 in the state of Indiana that uses it. So it's very new in its creation. But the second part to this is talking with the sheriff. He thinks that there's a way they can tag, since it's the same company that makes this, the same guy, they can tag on EMA to the sheriff's department app, have two administrators and get the same information out for
I mean, it less money.
a lot less money. So I think that for right now, that we can pull that out of there until we get some more information moving forward.
Leave 1,000 or?
Well, you want to leave something? So, I mean, he was already
1,000.
spending 800 out of there, right? So it's not all of the app.
I say leave 1,000.
But if he's gonna, okay, but if we remove it completely and don't leave anything,
That's fine, leave $1,000 for whatever expense may come out of there. I was just explaining the large increase.
So,
that's what Jonathan's leaving.
Yeah.
Is that really what we're doing?
and then, Lisa, Pam is going to just send an email out to Pete.
Oh, she's doing my job?
She's
Very
doing,
nice.
working together. She's working with
Just
us.
collaborate.
Yes.
Awesome. Look
All
at
right.
use that word.
Are we gonna flip back to EMS now?
If we got to the bottom of
We're done with
We've done
44, so that's,
44.
now it's soil and water next. So we can go back to EMS.
Jason, thank you. Do you have time to, for those of us that weren't able to start the presentation, just give us a synopsis?
Yeah, I'm currently the only person available in the county here. If something happens, I'll be out of here. But so Patrick came, presented some options moving forward for replacement of aging equipment. Generally speaking, the equipment is a 7 to 8 year life expectancy, although it could last 15, 20 years. Most everything we have is currently under contract, except for one portion of the devices we're trying to add back onto a yearly contract. Outside of the expiration period, you can only do 1 year contracts, and every year they go up because the devices are older and outside their expected time frame. So trying to look at getting onto a payment plan or onto a scheduled plan to replace all of the aging supplies. Currently, we have numerous supplies that expire on different years. Service contracts expire on different years. Some of them are 3-year plans, some of them are 2-year plans. If my memory serves me right, the service contract line item is like $35,000 or $38,000. In some years, I used $12,000 of that because contracts don't expire, and on the third year, I might use all $35,000 of that. So it kind of depends on how it hits. I passed along the lease option. You guys all three get that. Was there any additional questions with the lease option?
No, I just, I haven't done real
Okay.
stuff that yet, but
Only difference I saw, they could do the lease program for 5 years, not 7 years. I know you guys asked about the 7-year lease. That was a finance, their side finance department restriction. It was a 5-year lease option. So
I had to include that in there because we were talking about the replacement. And I think it's always pertinent to talk about just the lease side of it. Because after 7 years, you're gonna look at selling that back and replacing it anyway. So they didn't have that 7-year lease. They only had a 5-year lease, which made it a little less attractive, but I haven't really had time to look at the number on it. But it didn't sound like it was gonna be a very attractive number on the lease side.
I appreciate it. I mean,
It's just, yeah,
When I put together the numbers at the beginning of the year, the lease was almost double. It wasn't an attractive offer at all.
well, that was for the 360 plan that you get. There was 2 different plans. This was a different option that was newer. So there's definitely options out there. Cardiac monitors are expiring next year as far as end of service life. We can add a 1-year service contract for whatever the fee that they determine is each year moving forward. If for whatever reason they're not under contract and they go out, for whatever reason that ambulance is out of service. So that's what we're trying to avoid. I have no backup supplies of any of the Stryker equipment. So if a cot breaks down, I have no backup. If a monitor breaks down, I have no backup. Power load system had no backup. So that ambulance is out of service until that unit gets fixed. Thankfully, John with Stryker is fantastic. He's usually here within the next day or two. He has a van full of parts and fixes on spot and back in service we go. So service plan is, in my opinion, well worth anything we pay for it. It fixes batteries, covers initial supplies, covers yearly PMs on the equipment. What else can I try to answer for you?
From a budgetary standpoint, what kind of numbers versus where you've been funding this out of before, or what are you looking at? Wanting to take into account for next year?
I don't know when it was before me. I don't know before me where it was purchased from. I don't know if it was a large capital expenditure. I don't know what. I inherited the service contracts, which again, all expire in different years. I'm trying to juggle that. So I would use your expertise to figure out where you guys want to place it in the budget.
You just been handling them as the needs come at the time, usually through Cume Cap or?
Is it from public safety where he's got the 35?
That's the service contract. So
Service
I'm talking
contract.
about the capital
Oh,
pieces.
captive part, gotcha.
there was an ambulance accident somewhere in there which destroyed four portions of units. So that all got replaced again. So that threw off the service contract year for those parts. So I don't know if that was covered under the insurance from the crash or whatnot, but
We're a little bit ahead on the conversation because I'm thinking this is more of a commissioner's conversation that he should be having with Jason, but he's letting us in on what the numbers are going to look at since we're in this budget session. I don't know what direction they really want to go.
That's what we're trying to get at is if the commissioners decide they want to move forward with this, where do we need to look? If we don't take any action on it when we adopt our budget, as long as you've got ideas for where you've got room for options, and we don't need to worry about it right now.
Okay.
You know it's there.
Yep.
Yeah, let's go.
Appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah, no problem.
Sorry I couldn't make it the other day.
that's all right. Anything else for me while I'm here?
Thanks for the check.
I have that second check for you also with the documentation you requested. You want this on your desk or do you want this?
Oh, no,
Okay.
no. Don't get lost.
Okay.
I would see it.
We're on page 45 now? And we're actually,
Can I ask one question? And you knew I couldn't just let it, you tried really hard. But how do we ignore such a large expenditure that we know we're gonna have every year? How do we just not take that in when we're talking about this budget? I guess that's to you, because you're my president.
What we don't know, so I guess we're just gonna have to move forward and it'll be part of the factor when they're thinking about it. You know, they control some budgets. That was what I was trying to ask, is in the budgets that they control, they think, oh, they have room in there to come and ask for an additional out of that.
yeah.
So I guess, so that means you mean like Cume Cap. That's what you mean? I'm just trying to
Yeah,
understand,
yeah.
because, I mean, it's a lot of money. And it's gonna have to come, and it's gonna have to come, some of it's gotta come next year. It has to. Stuff is expired.
Well, not
I mean,
necessarily.
no.
You said it expires, you can get an extended lease, can you, or extended?
The service contract to add for a year on stuff that is expired is a large amount of money.
So we're always gonna be faced with things opportunities that come up that came up before there was an opportunity to pre-fund them, right? So
Okay, this is where I get confused, is we are the fiscal body. So I don't understand why that's not in our lane.
We're not the executives. That's in their lane. To decide whether or not to pursue that is in their lane. But until there is an expenditure requested, It is not ours to really worry.
Then how the hell do you ever plan on what you're gonna spend?
Yeah, it's we think
Didn't say
this
it was
needs
easy.
to happen. Ours is the how, financial mechanics of how it's.
We've had a great relationship with our commissioners that have been allowing us to know this stuff's coming forward. Not all bodies function as good as we do
A lot of
together.
counties don't, and this body didn't function that way. When we first got on, we didn't get the communication going to know beforehand what they were gonna actually drop in our lap.
Which we're, and honestly, I feel like in that respect, we are spoiled, because I'll tell you, at all the AICs that I go to, I will tell you, it is, how many times I hear a toxic relationship. Oh, I can't stand my commissioners. I think they're all garbage. Like, it
In a lot
happens
of
all the time.
counties, this isn't happening.
Yeah, look, they've been sitting here the whole budget cycle. They're sitting right here.
45 minutes.
But that's what I'm saying.
We got 45
And
minutes.
I'm not trying to insult any of you at all. Mine is, I mean, I sat down with you, we had real conversations about those numbers, and it's a big number, and it freaks me out with how we're going to sustain that moving forward, because it isn't
The
this year we need 2 cop cars. It's,
question I would pose that I've been trying to, I don't know, maybe Kelly has an answer to it, so maybe I'll ask her when she comes back, but a non-reverting capital fund.
that would make me.
And I don't know if we can have one or not.
No,
I'm trying to find that out.
they're gonna tell you that's what your cum cap is.
And that's, I think that's probably what they're gonna tell us, but
Look at it this way. If the striker presentation happened a month later, we wouldn't even know there was a conversation there.
I had this conversation in January.
I'm just saying, things are gonna happen to us right after budget cycle. It'd be nice to be able to do them in the next budget that we just adopted. We gotta figure out if that's feasible or not. It's just an unfortunate type of thing that we
We
don't.
can always say no.
Yeah.
When it comes to our lap financially, we can always say no.
That's the tip. So we figure out, just like in our own lives, we figure out another way. Or how to do it
I
out.
get why you're feeling the way you're feeling. It's just one of those, it is what it is.
What's crazy is that we've only, so for example, and I'm not pointing at you, but you've only known this level of communication.
I have only known this.
So for you to have a moment where there might not be a full understanding, it's, you don't understand because you've only known this level of communication. So if you ever came from that other level, you would understand why it's so
Rick
complicated.
and I and Ruth are sitting here going, man, we feel pretty blessed that we even know that that might be coming next year, right?
Right. I've known only this level of communication.
But isn't some of that how should evolve? Because the way government has run for years and years and
It's the
years
best,
doesn't
it
prove
is
to
the best
be.
scenario possible for the way government structure, county government structure.
So anyways.
Okay.
All right,
All right,
so I think soil and water, all there is left is labor. We're on 46 magistrate.
we've got a 50% increase in office supplies.
I'm so sorry, where did we
Sue
jump?
Ann Mitchell always has.
Magistrate, 46.
All of us smarter than all of us together.
Yes, I love Sue.
She's such a wise little gal.
She's awesome.
Sue Ann Mitchell.
It's one of my favorites. Statues.
So,
Going to the
Going to
dark
dark
side.
side, yes.
Dan, to go back to soil and water, to read through her letter,
Yep.
page 2 of her opening letter in her findings book, she's talking about additional funding, but I don't see that in our budget worksheet.
Yeah.
How's that work?
I'm so sorry, will you tell me again what you just said?
Soil and Water put a letter in. Second page of it is asking for additional funding. It's not in her budget.
To a total of 18,500.
So in the past, I actually talked to her yesterday, so I can tell you all of this now.
Okay, good.
In the past, it's been treated like the not-for-profit. It's always been lumped into that stuff there.
Back to the commissioner's budget.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
but I have always wondered, why do we pay for soil and water? Why are they on our payroll? So I did a lot of digging, found all the Indiana code. We are required to have them on our payroll. We do budget for 2 employees. And basically, the only thing they ask us to help fund is their operating budget, which she keeps very, very thin. So it should not be in with the annual allocation stuff. It should be kept out separate, just like we did the,
So we would remove it from the commissioners and put it down here in soil and water. It's still general, but we are gonna put it all together, is what I mean. So we can see it.
I personally think that's where it needs to go,
Just make it happen.
because that's what it is.
I love the idea of making something.
Just talked to her yesterday. She happened to be in the area and she stopped in, so it was a really good conversation. But it is by Indiana code. And literally, when I compared it to, I asked LaGrange and I asked DeKalb, and we don't pay hardly anything compared to LaGrange and DeKalb for soil and water.
So it would be under the commissioners at 30095, soil and water that's 16.
But they're really
But
wanting.
they
It's
want
under
8.
lit economic development, 1112.
Yeah.
Oh, I apologize.
You're right.
I didn't look, it's Adam, but I apologize.
But they asked for 18.5 and we got 16,000 written on our page 26. They're asking 16, but in her letter, she's asking for 18.5.
When we first did it, I didn't have the letter yet.
Okay.
No, I'm just telling you why it's different.
Okay.
Because I didn't have it, left it at where it was, knowing we were probably gonna have to fund that. And then when I got the letter, it said 18.5, so that's what it needs to be. It's 18.5.
So we need to go back to page 26 and change that.
If everybody's okay with that. And on page 26, it's the third from the top.
Soil and water.
Yesterday.
Just change it and leave it there under that.
Good. Thank you for telling that.
Well, I always wondered why we had to pay for it. Why are they on our why do we pay them a salary? And
We have to.
because we have to. Yeah, that's what the state says.
So now we're back to page
So we're
46.
leaving it there. We're not gonna put it all where it's all in one budget for us to look at. Because it would mean moving it to general.
Yeah, this is under lit.
And if you guys just want to leave it where it's at for this year, we can get it back. Where'd it go? Lost my page.
You can add it to the page, but it's still gonna be on the out of lit. That's what
Page
you're
45.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So rather
If you-
than 16, we're leaving 18.5, right?
So next year, we can have it down underneath soil and water where it belongs.
Still gonna be out lit though.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I got
Just
just what's
moving
going
it.
on.
We'll end up another color in this year's budget. Another script, a different color.
Okay, we're ready to look at page 46.
That office supply have anything to do with the fact that they ordered one kind of cubicle and wanted a different?
I just have new space written next to that.
An office supply?
Mm-hmm.
Page 46.
46, office supply. I was just curious if that was, right, they got the cubicles that were tall, then they wanted the cubicles that everybody else got that were shorter. Is that what that is?
It's because they changed their address for all their.
That's what he said, isn't it?
That's what it was.
Yeah, you're right, Danny.
Yeah, that wouldn't be enough anyway.
And I close.
No. We would need to move one of them.
big bump in continuing ed. Person off the Popper and Casa.
And the equipment repair and maintenance is for the new transcript equipment.
And that's a third of it. Yes, this year.
Their share of it.
That translator I had written in there, see if we could get the hospital to help share with that.
We talked about that.
They're so happy with theirs. Seems like maybe we could partner.
I remember having that conversation.
Ready for aviation?
Sure.
So Lisa, help me out here. They got a 50% increase in gas and oil.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the heck that is all about at all.
Yeah, they asked for 9,000. They haven't spent anything yet at the time this was printed.
I have no clue.
It's still at zero and expenditure?
How often do you refill that tank out there?
Well, what they sell, I mean,
The aviation, well, yeah, that's different.
that's different than what they. 2G.
2
I'll have to ask Aaron about that.
Miscellaneous supplies,
They still haven't spent any.
last year they spent
They haven't spent any money in the fuel.
26, this year nothing, and they asked for 2,000.
Did you guys all hear that? The fuel, they still haven't spent any this year.
It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense at all.
I think they may have been draining their tanks because of the fuel farm. Remember discussion about that, so that might be what's going on there.
Fuel
Fuel
farm?
farm.
What's a fuel farm?
I don't have, just speculating on what that might be.
But Ken, they would need fuel to operate Fanny, right? Truck that refuels the,
But I also know they have to be able to drain those tanks when they get ready to pull. So I don't know if that's what some of this is or.
oh,
So I still say we go to 7,000. I don't think we give them any more than their previous year usage, especially when they only ask for 6,000. Yeah. So
We can check on that.
I say we budget 7, they come back and ask for more.
Well, they expended, well, their budgeted 6,000 in 24.
They haven't spent any.
And spent any, and they expended 7,000 in 23.
So I think that's where he.
That's when the higher cost of gas was. Do you want to go to 6,000 then? I'm okay with 6,000. Can I get a consensus?
I'm good with either number. What do you think, Lisa?
I guess I would go with 6,000. I'll ask Aaron why he felt he needed more.
So I got another question too, way up to the per diem line. From 3,000 to 5,000, is it that they're changing the per diem amount, dollar amount, or that they're gonna have more meetings?
Their paperwork says we now have 5 board members that need to be paid the per diem.
So it's the same dollar amount per diem, it's just more.
Has to be because it's under our salary ordinance.
Good question.
What about services and charges? We went from, it was at 4,600, then they must have taken from it and taken it somewhere else.
Yeah, to take it down to 800.
And they hadn't used any, and they're asking for 4,600 again. And in 2023, they only used 1,400, 1,440.
So what are those?
Yeah.
Can you book those? And can you tell me what they?
They haven't paid anything out this year. And they haven't paid anything out this year still?
You're on 300. 30018, right?
Yeah.
Do you know where the transfer went? What did they take all that money out of and put it to?
Just not aware.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, what did they change they did a transfer, right? Not an appropriation.
Correct. I'm assuming it's a transfer.
Repair and maintenance is.
He's not aware that's a slush fund.
Sorry, she was still looking up what happened to the money and the services and charges for me. While she's looking why airport liability, none of it went up.
So it says it's a service contract for AWOS.
It was. They get paid out of somewhere else?
There's a lot of services and contract money.
Because there's a brand new professional services and contracts for 2,000. Looks like a brand new line.
So 3,800 was moved. It was moved to 06 to attorney. Yeah, I know they did run out of money already in that line and they're gonna run out again. Which line would be for attorney?
Been a lot of special meetings.
I'm sorry, that's why I got really quiet.
Yeah. I didn't say anything.
The deal with Troyer. Oh, just taking a lot of Jonathan's time. The new board, everything. We spent a lot more time out there.
Formally respond to that.
Sent that on to Dawn.
Well, it went through our board.
You got 3 year vote.
Yes, it did. And Jonathan helped us put together a response and what our action items should be and what they shouldn't be, and what we needed to do, and what we didn't need to do, so.
At least they keep them off. They didn't know that.
That's kind of, he can ask for reports all day long, but, you know, it's, Jonathan kind of shut him up with the fact that we're doing what we need to be doing. Anything more than that is not our problem.
So what that comes down to is that service charges really doesn't need all that.
Like 3 lines there. It does not appear that way to me, no.
You want to zero that for now and have them,
Unless there's something else they're adding in there.
I can ask you, and I'll see if he'll respond to me now.
I
so
would say, I mean, at least down to it. If we could go back to what they haven't used anything. We could do 1,500 because that's what was used in 23. So why don't we do 1,500? Take it down to 1,500.
all right with that.
On services and charges?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they haven't used anything out of it this year.
Cutting.
You said it's amazing over here? Oh,
Service charges, Charlie, 30018, we took to 1,500.
Line above that, Kelly said that they let her know that they don't need that drug testing money.
So leave 0 on that.
Someone's put
Actually,
0.
they didn't let us know. And
And
my
really,
staff figured that out. They never use it.
Well, back in 23, they used it.
We don't even,
Well, the
This is not
talent pool
using
is
this.
scarce anymore, so.
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
At airport.
Who really knows that?
they could have just been transferred out.
so the only other note that I have is testing services for AA lifts. It should be down here under equipment. It's not drug testing.
That was a loud thing.
So we took the 0 out. I mean, we took the drug testing completely out.
Because she was, so it was transferred for lawyer fees anyways.
Of the Christmas.
Drug testing is out.
The batteries.
Uh-oh.
I just use.
I got a charger.
I got a charger.
I got a charger, but
You can just go right off the front.
yeah.
1,500.
You'll have to sound floor Indian style.
No, not
Crisscross applesauce. You can't say that other anymore, Tony.
That's this kid. I never liked saying Indian style as a kid.
I could.
What is the drainage assessment? Is that what we pay ourselves?
Yes.
You pay it into the drainage fund.
And the professional services and contracts, that 2,000 that looks like Lao, put in a line by itself because there's no history. Do you know what that's for?
Mom.
Stewie from Family Guy.
Phones?
I was noticing that. That's a huge.
We're done the Quonset building.
I'm nothing.
Any thoughts on that, Lisa, the building
There
repair?
was there were more repairs that needed to be done.
That's right. The other hand, the remodeling on the inside, they're running it. I don't know if that's what this is or not.
One to the west.
Yeah, and that
The
is.
maintenance building site.
That's right.
They have not used,
They did the roof.
they've been engineering
And then they
So it's
had
engineering
the
services.
door.
It's engineering services.
Yes, is what it previously was. They haven't used that for.
You're talking the Quonset or the,
Yeah,
yeah,
What's
what
been
about the
taken
building
out of
to the
it
west
has
of
just
that?
been, like inline transfers.
that might be one or two.
2002,
Yep,
get them through.
so right now it's kind of slush unless they've got another,
So the engineering services, so we're okay to cut it out?
I would, three,
You guys have
30503.
the engineering services, she says it hasn't been used since 2001. You guys okay with taking that 2,000 out? It's 30503.
Take it to zero. There isn't anything left on the Quonset building that he's done, is there? They done the roof, everything repainted. They do the header, they had to do the header across the door.
Across the door, they had some structural things that they had to do to the base of it.
Yeah.
Should all be done.
Well, my note says that it should be down.
The door is redone.
Repair,
Which one should be?
testing services.
How come there's like
Into that then.
$6,500 more in attorney fees? What the heck's going on?
You had a ton of special meetings. She just said it. She just said there was a bunch of special meetings, change in the board, and a huge,
My note says.
So is there a reason why
Request.
we think that that's going to continue on?
It's not a question. It's something.
Because that would have to be the case when we have those kind of numbers, right?
Mr. Troyer continues to
Out of
badger.
that line.
And then information,
Taken care of.
Sure.
Mr. Troyer.
And we can double check.
well, and there shouldn't be another loss of life that large to affect that board and like what happened. I mean, there was a lot happened out there.
That's a good point, Tony. I wonder if we couldn't
I think you take it back
take
down
that
to
back
8,000.
down.
Which
At
one?
least it's still,
Attorney fees. Or make it 10.
well, again, 8,000 is the previous year's budget and that year we only did 3,500. I think 8's a safe number.
No, you budgeted 8 and you've spent 10 so far.
Yeah, they transferred.
Yeah,
They
they've already had to-
transferred 5,700.
They've only expended 10 through, that didn't need through the whole year, Tony.
Maybe
That's
Lisa
just what
can
they've
follow up on that as
This
well.
report was ran.
For sure, and I get it, but I'm also saying like extenuating circumstances with changing everything, like literally that whole department's gone upside down, right? I mean, and just reset itself.
Absolutely.
So I think you're not gonna have that year in and year out. So yes, they still figured out how to transfer money in, right? So we can go back to that if we have to. But I don't see that happening.
You want to put it
8,000?
back down to 8?
Yes, please. If that's all right with everybody?
If they come back and ask for more, where do we take it from?
This year was an anomaly. We're not going to repeat this again. Please.
Take it from the crack bill.
You know,
What's that?
take it from crack
Take it
bill
from crack
if
bill.
they need more.
I don't know what that means.
You hadn't been around long enough.
We always had money in cracks, so, and never did it get used actually to fill cracks. They always would move it here or there to cover other things.
So they just use that cracks.
It was a slush fund. It was a slush fund called Crackville.
It does. And it's.
Okay. 8,000 it is.
He occasionally does.
Gotta be around more than 3 years.
To know the joke.
So are you guys?
We used to get wonderful updates and presentations from
Cheryl was just at the commissioners meeting yesterday, giving an update, but not here.
Guess we need to invite her.
So tell me if I got this right. Kelly's saying that 3003 drug testing actually wasn't drug testing. And that money was requested to be moved down into equipment repair and maintenance.
Crackville.
Yeah,
Repair
but
and
equipment
maintenance.
repair and maintenance
You catch on quick.
looks to be pretty healthy versus what they've expended so far this year. So I wonder if it just couldn't be absorbed. Not add to that, add to that 30,000.
Mine said testing services, AA lifts, and then I have a big old arrow that says should be here under equipment. That's all that I know on that.
35,100 is what they want.
35, that's where my arrow's gone
They
to.
went 35. They wanted 33,000.
No, I mean,
Down to the line item,
I
yeah.
told you to talk about the count numbers. So I was talking to her about the count numbers.
You learn.
I don't know.
So are we?
Again, I don't know that it needs to be
I don't know that we've got anything.
33,000.
On drug testing, we're gonna take it to
We
zero
had taken it to
Right.
0 and then
But then-
Kelly
I
said,
propose we absorb that 3,000.
and leave 30,000 in the line. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, I got the 3 questions posed to Aaron. I'll let you know if we hear back from him before we're done today.
Okay,
And then you guys did services and charge 33018, you took that down to 1,500.
no, we took it to, yes.
Yes,
we took it to
cut
30,
3,100.
cut 31.
So we had 5 cuts in that page.
1, 2, 3. And attorney fees, would you guys come up with?
Leave 8.
One, two, three, 4. Where's your 5th one?
You got gas and oil.
Up here. Did you take that back too?
We cut 3,000 to 6.
Cut that down.
Okay,
Now I have 5.
ready to go to 48?
Sure.
Airport grant match.
What is it that they're doing? Oh, is that the fence, the love fence?
Yes.
And
5% match.
Point.
Well, you'll see its grant request is like 2.2.
90% federal,
5% state, 5%.
5%. That's why you'll see that that was actually in last year's, but they didn't, or it'll be
That was a
this year's,
carryover.
but it didn't happen.
Yep. Carryover.
So is this?
And after that, then it should go back, it should go
Satisfy your
away.
constituents.
Unless there's other projects.
Yeah.
Time to apply for your grant.
It's right across the street.
Hunting license.
49 then?
So where's that coming from?
Federal.
No, where's our 5% coming from?
From the grant carryover here.
Right.
This was a carryover from last year.
Yeah.
It's been sitting around here.
Right, this time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now we're on page 49.
Wait, are we gonna, oh, is it on the next page?
I apologize.
Yes, on the next page. The airport improvement.
That
That's
should
something.
have a project, correct?
Did they have something? Because it looks like we budgeted.
Do you remember what the project was?
I mean,
Might be lighting. I know there are
Oh, runway lights.
runway lighting and also they're getting, that would, might be the grant.
Oh,
for
what about the snow
equipment.
removal equipment?
Yeah.
Grant for what?
Snow removal equipment.
And I think that is another 95.5 grant.
Yeah, that's actually 10% match or whatever. So are we on page 50?
Yep.
So lots of big increases.
On 50?
Yeah.
Isn't that all the grants?
it's still all underneath that fund, right? That 1122, what's? It's 1122 is state grant, federal grant, state grant, it's a state grant.
In charge of this 1122.
I don't think that those are new, right? It's just that we're now putting, it's just like everything else earlier, it's now a grant and now we're seeing it and it wasn't there before, so that's why it was a zero.
Grants funded. Brett?
So what we
Yeah.
use
Thanks. Thanks, Lisa.
Yep. Instead of having each person has their separate.
Oh, they used to be all separated out. So it's not new positions. Is any of this new positions? This is all people that are already there. Okay. I just heard somebody say, bunch of new positions, I was like,
The only new one that we are in, who are we in? Oh, this is.
We're in community corrections.
community corrections.
Yeah, never mind.
Since we can, okay, we have an ability to look at what kind of increase they want if they were separated out and now they're together. Is there another sheet?
So just in general, that budget has a 90% increase over the previous year's budget.
Seriously? I did sheet for her bow.
You serious?
Well, there's a total line, 753,407 to 1,360,000.
Did they change?
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, Brett would have to answer that.
No, I just know that he pays out his one fund first and then
So is that state?
pays out of his other and
It's
this is a hot mess.
They can't be all.
Yeah.
And you're saying that and you work in government, it's already confusing.
Anyway, from the 2024
Ken here's back here too.
adopted budget to the 2025 requested budget is a 90% increase.
Oh, and you'll see though, there's a lot of things that aren't on here.
Yeah, see how this doesn't have any, all those positions were paid last time, so that 414, 543 isn't a real number of what it was before. The only ones that we could look at, I guess, would be without wages, right? Everything else has the numbers beforehand. Oh, no, I didn't turn to the next page.
Historically, though, county council has really never done with community corrections. Now, this year, they were rolled into the salary analysis, and I think that was just done as like an FYI sort of thing, so that to see where they were at in salaries. And they also never had like set in stone job descriptions. They were just kind of ones that they had always created up there. So now we have them. They haven't been approved yet. They're actually in a box. Haven't opened yet. So, yeah, they've never really gone through the budget process.
And the state monies dry up. There's NICC.
I mean, the ones that do have even, I mean, let alone their 2000s, I mean, went from 44,056. And that's why from 271 to 323, those are like big jumps here where we actually have information to look at.
Nothing from that agenda.
Nope. So,
All state funding.
state
Health
fund, yeah.
Health first.
We asked you all this.
Back on health? Yes.
Yeah, no, my one, yeah. I know it's state money, it just still makes me feel like it's. Doesn't the state, why doesn't somebody come in and monitor that? Still taxpayer money.
He asks for a lot of things that he doesn't get. He blows up his budget and he doesn't get it. I mean, they deny him. So I think someone is watching what they're doing. It's not just, oh, that's your budget, here's your money.
Okay, well, that makes me feel better.
Yeah,
Then, you know, because we say,
sure.
well, it's not our money.
But it is our money.
It's our money, yes.
Oh, it's a grant, so it doesn't cost us anything.
Yeah.
That's not true.
No.
So obviously health is a different animal for us as far as what we can manage. They're in the program now.
So Dan, can you explain, does that mean that we can change any of this, or is this
No.
already the budget she submitted and we just get to look at it?
Yep, and the state
Okay.
funds it.
Yeah, and I did have a question mark on the 30103 though. No, 503. But increase to start paying for the Xerox lease, isn't that rolled into the whole county?
I think that 6,500 is part of the county budget.
Why do we have
I thought-
any
Under health.
departments pay for their own?
No, but I thought she
Some
said.
of the majority of the county does fall into one, but there are some departments that do pay for their own.
So you're telling me she does?
She needs to be
There was
25.
something
She
left
wasn't
over.
before, but she is now.
There was something left over in her budget that was staying on our side. I can't remember what
That was
exactly.
part of her contingency planning if the state ever pulled the funding too, that they could maintain.
Wouldn't we be able to see it if something was staying underneath one of our funds?
When she presented from us, she said something to that effect, and I just want to make sure that was clear.
Well, 1159 health is our old health fund. 1161 is the new one, right?
Yes.
Tony, you might be thinking Fund 1168 and 1206, because I got legacy funding next to that.
Legacy fund, yeah.
We are still paying these. This here is still coming out of us.
1159 is still us.
Which one is?
1159.
Oh,
So,
I think we need to, but they have their own board and they adopt their own budget. That's what I'm saying. And they're working, sorry to interrupt, they're working with the state's recommended guidelines for their pay and those kinds of things.
But I can tell you that they were rolled back into our wage study because of the pay equity thing we have. It's all over the board. So that's a whole nother thing that we're gonna have to discuss as well, and Alicia is aware and. But we don't
Roll
wanna,
them back in.
but
Why did
They were looked at in the.
they were looked
Who
at
chose that?
and they rolled them back in just as a part of the big study. Now, if you guys don't want to roll them back in, you could most certainly make that decision when the time comes. But for purposes to figure out where all the wages are at, that's why.
So that's where it's gonna get convoluted, because I'll be straight, and I don't wanna get into this weeds, but here's what's happening. You've got a state funded at a higher rate, and now we're gonna compare that to a county funded. So that's gonna skew the numbers because we're looking at higher wage. So that's gotta get pulled out. Again, I'm getting in front of myself.
Not necessarily higher wages, it just kind of depends on how they came in.
Pretty certain. it's
Some
higher
of them
wage.
are, some of them aren't.
okay, so I
I'm
just,
sorry.
my one question. 1159 is our fund, yes? Money that comes from us, not from the state. Wouldn't we have a say over that then? I mean, if
We
it's,
do control health. But we, trying to think of the right way to work with that. They work within their own budget that their own board adopts.
okay. But like, so we just have to eat the fact that they want $3,000 more from us here because, well, that's just how it works, even though it's our fund?
No,
We can make cuts on it.
Yes, this is our fund, Tony. That's what we were missing there, is 1159 is our fund, not the specialty fund, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Still have to support Fund 1159.
1161 is state money.
There's something we're missing here, and there's something confusing. We'll have to ask tomorrow. I need to find that. I need to confirm that, because my understanding.
Your auditor is telling you it is our fund.
Okay.
It's funded by property taxes. 1159 is.
1159 is funded by property tax.
Okay.
County, 17% of the budget. State is 64% of the budget.
So we would look at this like we look at everybody else's. Right?
Yeah, we do. I'm just saying, we're already subscribed to a certain part of this.
I could be mistaken, but you need to ask her. I know when she figured this budget and figured her other budgets, she has to maintain a certain dollar amount in this to qualify for.
I said a base minimum of around 170 is what I wrote down.
190, I got 170,000 wrote back mandated that we have to maintain. That sound right, Christina?
170?
That's
what I have.
That's what I've got on my.
She's got
That's what I wrote down.
176.
Base minimum of 107,000.
Yes.
So she put in here that 176 is,
That's why that 6,500's in there.
so the most we could touch out of there would be
$6,000.
Or that her around is the 176.
That's what that 6,500 was, to get it to the number that needed to be able to qualify. Is what.
No, that was because she needed to be paying for her Xerox lease. It wasn't just to get it there.
We have, it's hard to see if these are really were zero the year before, but like using subscriptions, 3,500, then you got the machine and equipment, computer equipment for 5,000s. So I was wondering with this machine and equipment, since there was no history in that, if that was the number she put in to get us above that number.
Okay, I have a couple answers from Aaron, if you want to circle back. to the JIF 47.
We're going back to.
he said that the service SVC line,
Services and charges line.
30018.
hold on. AWOS. AWOS. Once a year, we pay a service to broadcast weather data to every airport weather source across the country. The bill is usually $720. We increased it because we plan on running a new electrical line in the future, which could be $10,000 plus.
30018, but that's a capital expenditure. If it's for electrical line.
And then the fuel increase was for the new snow removal equipment expected in December, the fuel truck that should be done, and the fuel truck that, so for Fanny, the fuel truck that goes out and fuels the airplanes on the runway.
So did we have snow removal equipment before?
Yes, we
Did we
did.
have a truck before?
Yes.
So we shouldn't have an additional expense.
That truck gave up the ghost.
No, for sure, but I'm.
But we were still removing snow with fuel,
Yes,
is what Tony's
that's my
saying.
point.
Still using fuel to remove.
So
snow.
We did the right thing there.
So leaving 6,000 is great.
And then, but we need to change the 4,500 and put it back to 4,500, is that what it is?
No, because like Dan said, if they're wanting to put in a new something, that's a capital
The
improvement.
electrical line would be a 4,000 category, would be a capital improvement.
Okay.
So when they're ready to do that, they just come,
They'll
they'll
have to come to us.
have to come to us.
Okay, so then we just need the building and repairs and maintenance collection. Why that's what they're planning on doing this year, all right?
So the 40007 airport improvement for $40,000. That be part of this electrical.
That's that runway lighting.
Could it be a combination of how much did the electrical lighting thing cost? Lines, electrical line?
10,000 plus, he said,
Okay,
That makes sense.
so runway lighting,
could be,
What you're saying is maybe the electrical line.
maybe the $40,000 encompasses at 10 for the electrical line. That's what
They have to take.
sounds right in my mind.
So you're gonna handle that
And it's in the CapEx category.
Unless he doesn't know any better. He can give it to the, all this, unless he's not, right? Is there people on that board to advise?
yes,
So would they have known to put that in CapEx?
but I don't know.
Could have been overlooked.
So they can always come back to us. Hey, Coach, can I ask for your thoughts on this?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
There's been a capital improvement, airport improvement line item ever since I can remember being on council. And it's always been up around that $40,000 mark. So it's for capital improvements that are needed at the airport. over the year.
Bathrooms.
That's been budgeted for. The reason it was up at 268,000 is a whole bunch of the airport improvements that we entered that line item. Prior to all those going in, it was about 40,000. That's what they used each year. So then if you go back and look at what we budgeted 4, 5, 6 years ago, you're just seeing that $40,000. If my memory serves me.
So what's going on with aviation fuel?
So they do not have anything planned for repairs and maintenance yet. They got 20,000 on their budget.
What I'm saying, it's obviously profitable and self-sustaining, so they're not having to re-budget new money. I remember when we funded filling the tank the first time. Remember that?
I don't know where we got the checks.
10,000, 20,000, building repair and maintenance.
Crack filler.
Crack filler.
That used to be a report we'd get, so when the airport will report to council, fuel sales, thinking it's profitability.
They do that every month at our board meeting, say what the fuel sales were. Well, what is it, low something and There's two different names for the fuel.
Jet A.
Jet A and,
Right.
yeah.
Sulfur oxide or.
Are we done with that one then?
As far as I think. Yeah.
So we can go back to health department real quick. So we're mandated to put $170,000 into budget. So there's $176,000 there. So if there's any cuts that you guys want, I guess we can make those cuts appropriate.
So I just think we should make sure that we know, because I have the base minimum around. So can it be right at 170 or was her around the 176?
So when I heard her, I remember hearing her say that she had to put something, but this triggers for me that 6,500 was put in there to go over that and to get that number where it needed to be. Now, we can cut, I guess, right? I mean, I'm not saying we can't, but we got to figure that out. But she's not in today. I stopped down there to talk to her. So we can send a request to verify that.
My guess would be she's got that valve in right where it is.
Yeah. It's right where it is.
But I know there was some concern about costs, so.
Better fuel over gas, so we do everybody else.
Yeah, she went from
Just
4,000
saying.
to 2,000.
That's
Yeah,
under
you're
Article
right.
61. That's under the state.
The conversation.
Oh, shoot, that's the wrong one.
That's under the state.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with her on that when we told her to up that Xerox. And I remember her talking to me about how she had told council already that she was gonna keep it at 170,000. And she goes, well, council's just gonna have to okay, then that's why when she came in, I do believe speaking, when we were talking about budgets, she had brought that up about how because we told her she needed to up to pay for her Xerox. So she was at 170 to get her minimum. And then we told her to change that Xerox for her.
She was at the minimum, so that was added.
Yes, because we told her that she needs to start paying for her own Xerox machine.
So we could
We could,
cut $6,000.
Something, yeah.
I'd say take one of the 5,000s out of the equipment.
I'm using 5,000 for the equipment.
Oh, in the back.
015.
Top of the page.
Okay.
yeah, the machine and equipment or the computer equipment.
Okay.
Which one?
Machine equipment.
Machine equipment?
Doesn't have any history.
Leave 0.
Okay, hold on. In the 1159, right?
Yep.
Where is 1159 in here? It's only 42015, so there's that. Oh, you can see.
We're gonna go to.
Equipment.
I didn't have to.
94, you know. Maybe on the computer software, the other 5,000. So, which one did you take, 15 or 500?
15.
You need to get two.
That Amy. Okay.
There's nothing on page 54. Or 55.
456.
The highway.
You want to knock Wick out? It's in the back.
Let's do that. Right, we're on page 61.
Just traveler communications.
That's all I got.
This is not from general.
Restroom supply.
Those ladies are fabulous up there.
We're all good there?
They're great.
Back to highway. Save the butt. And no notes on that page.
Our WIC department is in the
Unbelievable.
top 5% of the state.
I agree.
in ranking.
What's gonna be hard is when they finally change. I mean, they've been there. It's been there at least 25 years.
7.
She's back.
No,
Doesn't this all depend on what we decide to do here? Right? Like his budget is the most like,
We've got 3 options.
yes.
so there's that, what is, I don't even know what this is, so you'll have to forgive me, someone knows it, VITUM.
Bituminous.
Yes, what is that? What is that about?
An asphalt.
Asphalt.
Road patch.
Road patch.
So road patch, so we got 3,300 track filler. Right, track filler for the.
And we're back.
3,300, and then last year was used 10,000 this year. We've only used 686. Is that usually a fourth quarter piece? Is there an update on that number where it's at
I'm
currently?
sure there'll be an update on
Are you the liaison to that department?
You've been very sassy today. You should have taken your meds.
I don't think you can say that kind of stuff out loud. I think that was defamation against me. I don't medicate.
So Tony,
I know you don't. That's why I was joking. Wow.
the bituminous is then down also in Local Road and Street. They split that funding up for that.
So
They increased to $10,000 in Local Road and Street.
still.
So he's got 85,000.
So is the first part of this conversation whether or not we want to talk about funding things outside of highway or not? Because if we're not interested at all, then the budget looks one way. If we are interested in trying to do it some outside of that, then it changes that budget. Is that a decent way to think about it?
I agree.
Thanks, Coach.
What are you saying, as far as start third-party stuff?
Funding,
No, some of our
how we're going to
projects,
fund those projects.
the big, the elephant in the middle of it.
I forget what line. I'm sorry.
Road 2.
You really did hurt me.
So capital improvement, great storyline. 4,000, 40005. 355,000. Which one is that earmarked?
That's a Bridge 10. 600 left south of US 120.
Oh, this one. The really big one? Bridge 10, you said?
Bridge 10.
How's the trending been on the balance on the bridge fund?
Just, he gave us 3 options, budget options.
By the way, our highway fund did increase crack seal by 45%.
They helped out at the airport.
So Tony, your liaison.
Yep. Just because I'll share with you, like, hardworking group. Thanks. But I think that, my concerns is that we're trying to move too hard and too fast. I think that. Really? That's surprising. It really is.
Anyway, Tony, the second part of my question is, I know you've had conversation with him. We've got three options in front of us to go along with yours and Christina's mutual agreement of we need to, what was your statement?
Decide on which option essentially we were going to go before I make some decisions.
Correct. So
Mine was if we were gonna do any capital projects outside
as
of,
liaison,
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you for your input and advice on this. I know they're a hardworking group and I know that we're fast forwarded on projects and they're getting stuff knocked off the checklist, but
So
we've got three options of information to try to decipher through. How do we limit that down?
So from a perspective of, we tried to move everything needle hard and move it all, take it out and you bond everything individually, okay? And then the budget starts working because now capital improvements are pulled out and it's manageable within that. So the decision, and I'm not comfortable personally, I'm not comfortable taking that direction. Because I feel like that increases, that puts a constant pressure on increasing our current constituency with the tax base that's going to have to be bonded over and over and over again. Now, I think that if we're going to, I think at some point, we'll probably have to do some bonding of it. But I think we've got to try to stay within our framework. I don't care for option 3. I think that's changing all the dynamics. I told him to put it in there because I felt like everybody here needs to have their own opinion, right? And be able to see his 3 options.
And so that takes us down to option 1 and option 2. Option 1 was his original proposal, correct?
Yep.
And then option 2 was,
so the most expensive option is what is actually in the budget, correct?
We put in the highest one.
The highest one is what's in the budget.
which is option 1. Thank you, Ruth. Yes, that's what, there's a memo page on that.
There's such.
Comparison sheet between them. Finding the piece.
Yeah.
Just the wages, right?
About halfway back in his presentation sheet.
Okay, so
But you can put totals on the bottom of each of the funds. You can see clearly.
What page are you on, Dan?
Well, it's in the middle of the slideshow
it's
presentation.
in the slideshow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one.
Budget options. Cool.
Okay. Thank you. That cleans it up.
So both of these 2 options still change the way in which, right? So
Hit this,
option
right?
2 changes, obviously, as you see,
Option 1 is the direct.
what we, meaning the previous council had stated wanted to make sure that we kept certain numbers for the future, right?
Just different law.
So that changes a little bit in option 2.
Wait, you put pennies on this one, I don't.
He is an engineer.
The one-word summary on option one was staffing and wages, right? I mean, that's good. Up to that. What would your one-word summary be of what option two was? Bringing back projects and
Isn't the big thing between 1 and 2 is the night shift?
Yeah.
Maybe,
increased staffing.
and we're not gonna talk about staffing at all, but what it really is, the whole night staff. Is that, maybe that little nugget?
He said that people were asking about that, so he threw it in.
I get, but I assume that that is one of the biggest bites you could take out of it. Is if we all knew we were gonna do a night shift.
So option one is $8,202,068.
$8,202,068 is option one.
Option two is $6,470,000. Between the four funds combined. Difference of $1.8 million.
Yeah, no, that's where, I mean, that's where I just, with the weight, with everything else that we're gonna have to talk about when it comes to wages. I have no idea how we would add 4.
068.
I don't know how we would do it.
6,070,000.
You know, like a lot of these things, I think it's good when the seed of thought is planted. Don't know that it's the right time, but the goal at some point, maybe for him in the department when he's there.
Maybe somebody at the state level could talk about how we need highway funding increase.
There'd be the time to deploy that as if we ever got on the right side of this line.
My time.
And the hits keep coming.
So
It's because I believe in you. You're my sister.
Provided that opportunity occurs.
So is, Tony, how close is option two? Because I found that I mean, obviously the slideshows are great reading material, but his own sheets that he did of the costs, I found it hard to understand what that was. Like, is option two basically just like continue like he did?
With lower reserves and incredibly higher payroll.
Yeah,
Lower reserves.
he's eating up the ending cash balances.
Yeah, which I thought we were only gonna do for a year. But the looks of your little sticky note is it's been more than a year.
His biggest anxiety is payroll. He believes that he's going to lose several people in his department.
And is all of his payroll just in these specialty funds? Or is his, I guess I could have looked, I could look. I'm sorry, I should
No,
have.
it is.
1176, isn't it?
And so none of his hits general, none of his hits lit or anything else where we see other people's stuff come out of.
Part of Chip's salary is paid out of Cambridge, but
That's still all that stuff that we don't have any say over what amount of money we really get in any of that.
General fund.
Has anyone ever done anything for anyone outside of one of these funds for a highway engineer or that ever been done? Can you pay them from somewhere else?
The engineer,
Right, because he'd be a huge hit on the budget, on that budget. So if we were able to figure him out somewhere else, if we were worried about losing all of our highway staff, right? You get creative. I mean, can he
don't
be
know where
economic
else you can
development?
pay him.
You can't pay him out of economic development. He's the one who's designing and pulling you into the future.
I'm wondering if it's at the state funding level on that though, if it's really set by state. Wage.
We do get money back on that, don't we get like 40% back.
We don't have anything from the state that sets his wage.
Where it can be paid
Where
from.
it's came from, I don't know. It's always been a split. I don't know if there's anything out there that specifies otherwise.
Things that
I don't know that I could answer for that one.
That would be the place to try it from, if you ask the OGF, if you could do that.
right? Because I mean, that is, right, my little knowledge of how those things work, that's development. Wouldn't highway be right?
Oh, I know that, you know, they're non-administrative jobs or so, you know, as laborers, whatever that category is. What other positions out there do they share the same classifications?
So you have a couple months ago, they're admin staff, and then you just have LTC.
But what other departments have the,
LTC, maintenance.
so if you're talking pay parity issue,
It, again, depends on the factor points when it's applied and where in those categories it falls. So you have LTCs, A, B, C, D, E. It just all depends, and that's what.
higher skill set requirements and all that.
Yes, yes. So if you take a look at a custodian and a truck driver, obviously they're gonna be on completely different levels. You have to have CDLs and stuff like the truck driver, and then same with foremen, mechanics. I mean, there are the higher LTCs.
So on this paper that I got today, it talks about each position and their updated job classification and the wage salary recommendation. Why is there nothing for highway?
Because they're on a whole different tab.
It says the attached sheet and I don't have.
Should have gotten a different, Kelly printed them. It's a whole different spreadsheet.
Hourly, maybe the hourly ones.
I had to break them out separately, otherwise my spreadsheet was just gonna go. Look,
Right there.
So they're on with PSAP and
yep,
EMS,
Oh, okay.
so you will see,
LTC.
there, but the way this, look at mine here. This is where you're gonna run into a problem trying to print this. Because you have their straight rate, you have their overtime rate, and then I calculated out what their annual salary would be. So here, yeah, you just have, you just have their Wagner, Irwin, and Shealy. It's like,
Can I make a request? I know we said that until we decide which way we're going, but we kind of narrowed down a little bit of which way we're going. I think there's some elements of the 2, 3, 4 thousands here that we can just say we've gone through it and come to agreement on some of the budget parts here. And then we're starting our jump into personnel. So it's the only one we haven't finished going through on that level.
I've listened. I'm with you.
All right?
I was just trying to see how worried you should be over losing
I get it.
employees. That's why I was going there.
Here's his comparison. He used communities. Now, I'm not necessarily in agreement with all this. When I presented to him, I'm sorry, Dan, I'll shut up. We'll come back.
Let's come back to that.
Yeah, but I do have a story to tell on that.
Yeah.
Remind me.
I was curious county comparisons too. So in 1135 Hume Bridge, cash balance in 4 years has lost $1 million. And it's down to $790,000. That answers some questions for you about what projects you can afford to do. So thinking of that, page 57.
After the rest. Yeah, thank you.
I'm sorry. Just put my stuff on me.
So in the 2000s there's big decrease in culvert, little decrease in stone. Consultant fees went through to $5,000.
Why would they drop that much?
If he doesn't feel he has the funding for projects. Just guessing.
We're gonna,
Like maybe his 25 projects, the consulting's done on already.
oh, okay, so it doesn't mean that we're
26
stalling
ones he's
ourselves.
Yeah. I'm just guessing. I don't want to put words in his mouth. Is there anything going down through there you guys want to address?
So the challenge to this, now this is the purview that I have some insight if you want me to. So raw materials have gone up about 35% over the last few years. That has to be taken into consideration because there's no way to build a road without raw materials. And I mean, that therein lies your opportunity to start cutting things. I mean, and he told me specifically that some of these people have bought out each other. And so now there's less people to work with. So it's less competitive. So people are setting their own pricing models when they're building these or bidding out these projects. So it's creating a dynamic where we're just getting inflated costs, right? Because they can.
I would argue that we're going to be coming into a more affordable time because everybody was spending COVID money and coming off of killer economy, and now we're starting to get on the other end of a long stretch of inflation. And when construction slows down, prices come down.
And I hope you're right, but if there's still only one contractor, then that contractor can set the tone of whatever it is. And there's been a consolidation of
I get that.
different groups buying each other out. So that's the only challenge I have for you is, and I'm not advocating for anything or not. I'm just sharing with you the information as we've talked, him and I, extensively about some of the challenges he's facing.
My general sentiment is just, again, follow the plan with Peters. I think we turned him loose and now we got to pump the brakes. And I hate to go backwards because I know he's got the safety improvement plan that he wants to initiate, which I don't know how much of that will be grant funded and won't, but you listen to that plan and it makes you want to. But there's got to be funds for these things.
I was trying to remember that percentage from the federal that he told us. But I don't know. I mean, he scaled this way back, right, here?
Commissioners, you're road commissioners. I'd love to hear from you guys on your thoughts on this.
Probably the first priority set would be to maintain our current staff. Which we need to do to keep people here going elsewhere. Rest of it can be funded project at a time.
That statement right there pretty much tells us the direction we're in. So that statement there tells us what direction we're in, just by the options that he's given us.
my observation. Ken might have a different one.
No, I agree. If we look back a few years ago, we were falling behind or had fallen behind our employees' income levels. And we saw it happening then. History tells us they will leave, and it's gonna cost us more money to retrain people that are looking for jobs when they come back. But we'll take a hit losing good people that are there. I think the team we have out there is worthy of your close examination to what you can do. Maybe it would behoove you and us to have Chip come in, and these are good questions. Maybe he could give you something to sink your teeth into to see if there's anywhere we can get to where he wants to be. I have a great amount of admiration for the team that we have out there. I think they've done great things. They've looked at ways to save money. I know they'll go the extra mile, but for how long can they sustain that? They have to look at sustainability too.
Thank you for that. I would echo that. And I feel like letting him drag those cash balances down to where it is now, I think we're at a tipping point of we have to make a decision. And what scares me is, the budget session that State House is going to go into and the road funding mix up. We don't know what we're going to land with coming out of that. So if we get going committed on too many projects and we end up on the first side of that equation, could be in trouble.
You have an opportunity to take on larger projects. To what you said, you don't really want to tax the folks, but with that said, those small capital improvement funds have a minimal effect, even though it still does have one. You can address those as they present themselves without having to fund a plan all the way through.
There was
Or you look at it project by project basis as they come up.
Yeah. He told me there was a big opportunity for
This is
a
a
large
135.
grant,
It's this
but
number,
it was
this
a
number.
big nut.
So this is how much.
I didn't know how far for like
So
a
this
very
number
big
here. This number is
projects, right? So
Thank you.
that might be able to be
Write
bonded
it in my own.
to supplement the income.
You know, the scenarios that Peters gave us in terms of those 2 million for 3 years, 2 million for 5 years that we looked at. $2 million over 3 years, I believe the average is about $10 to $15.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that range, sub 20. So every 3 years you could use that to fund that and still keep the overall tax position of the county, and that's the county's residents at the lower end of overall taxes in the state of Indiana. Can't let the roads go because that's going to create more havoc. It's just going to make it more expensive further down the road. And it's going to lessen the opportunity for that growth that we need.
I just don't think we want to go strictly into that direction and remove all capital improvements. I feel like we add those in, so if we can't afford to do that from our current budget, we can push one of those down the road to continue to move forward. And if you're right, and we see things tighten up and the costs come down, it makes it even more affordable.
It may retract, but I don't know how far it's going to retract.
It has to, I mean, just looking at Cume Bridge, when you look at what we can spend and what he has in there, Tony, is gonna burn cash. And we burnt cash for 4 years. I don't think we can burn cash anymore there.
I agree. Listen, yeah, I'm
Cume Bridge is gonna run out of money in 2 years.
100% agree.
Yep. I think it's a good suggestion. Like Ken said, bring him in here and let's just have a candid conversation about where he thinks these ending cash balances are.
Likes to talk roads.
So you
That's a day in, day out. We look at
I'll
it.
ask him if he can come in tomorrow. You guys want him here tomorrow?
Yeah, I don't know, it'll be here Friday. The way this is going, we might need Saturday.
I haven't even played. It'd be great if we were here.
So anyway, do we want to finish going through these? So we did it?
I think it depends on what he has to say
Yeah,
tomorrow.
I don't,
Well, like MVH restricted, page 58. Do we want to look at a $315,000 increase in road budget? Given what we just discussed.
Say that one more time.
30055. You know, do we want to continue to increase that spending level in MVH restricted? There's 400,000 in capital improvement in there. There's $125,000 just in MVH in building repairs and maintenance. You probably have a pretty good idea what's going on with the building out there. Is that part of the center build or is that?
The building, you say, Dan?
Yeah, building repairs and maintenance, he's got requesting $125,000. MVH.
VH restricted.
No, non-restricted.
I think he said something about bathrooms or something up there.
Okay. Tell us how much we get here, because it isn't revenue. So is that just,
That's probably
That's-
not property taxes.
right? So how much do we get in 1173 in a year?
I'm looking. I'm gonna see if it'll come up on this other sheet. I just gotta find.
Is that based on how many miles of road we have? Is that what MVH restricted is? Is it the one that's based on, how does the state decide what to give us? Is it based on mileage?
I don't know that. All I know is it's not something we can control.
I'm thinking of the turn.
We do not have an influence on that.
I knew we didn't have an influence. I just was curious how it was set and how much it was.
When he gets back to me, I'll shoot a text if we're not here.
Okay. Well. Yeah, well, this will be better answered when he's here, I guess. $4.914 million for MVH.
4.19 million?
914. Just MVH.
Good again.
4.91.
This line is-
$4,914,230.
Expenses are 6,752,558.
In his budget, he's budgeting 6,752,558.
You're gonna burn cash. Plus what's coming in, he will have an operating balance at the end of December 25, $53,565.
Where do we see the 6 million on here?
It's not gonna be, oh, you mean where he budgeted?
I see this, the budget for. I mean, when we were talking about
Tell me one here.
MVH restricted,
Dan, what time you want to get? It's right here. 8 AM?
my vote, but that's 4, that's not 6.
Would be a big part of our conversation.
What time you guys want to hear?
I'm told 8. So I just,
It's just fresh. I guess I'm just confused, Kelly, where the 6 million comes from, if the budget, when I'm looking here. So when you said we get that
We'll be here at 8.
4.9 million, that isn't just MVH restricted, is that all of?
The only one I pulled up, I just pulled up one. And I pulled up 702 highway is MVH. 76. You want the 76.
1176 shows.
does the score door get locked? Yeah. All right, so I can hear everything.
Yeah, no,
Charge it back here.
Construction.
Right
away acquisition.
Hey, Dan. I about 22, I guess.
right. Was total expenses. For the year 2025.
That doesn't line up.
Let's see.
We'll try to get an answer as to why those two numbers don't line up.
So I went on here to Georgetown, so I see the breakout and everything. And this is saying that his total expenses is $6,752,000 per day.
This is the monthly department report.
Okay, so I need to, we need to add that together. 1173 and 1176, which that would be that.
That makes sense.
Okay.
It's two funds, it's 1173 and 1176.
Yes.
Well, there's just 6 million.
No, that's okay. She said that DLGF doesn't recognize.
Oh.
So when this, and this is where this is pulled from.
So
Here.
that any cash balance is 53,000.
Yeah. Do you want this printed off?
1176 and 1173.
I would love that. I can add it to my plethora of paper.
123125. The budget, the way he wrote it, would have a remaining cash balance of $53,000.
Oh, my gosh. For the way it presented, which was option,
We put the highest one in.
okay, option one.
So how you guys want to finish up today?
I think we're at a good stopping point.
Because we're gonna listen to Chip first morning. We're gonna have new budget numbers as to what we can cut today. And with the wages going back to square one, right? With no new positions then.
Yeah, this list.
No, I'm sorry, I was looking at something else. Okay, go again.
You're gonna have new numbers tomorrow with what we cut today, the general. You're going to have what the salary is based on a 3, 4, 5%, whatever increase, which is not gonna include any new hire.
You already have that.
I already have that.
That's on your spreadsheet that
I got it already?
Yes.
That you already have.
But is it blended in with our total general budget with 2,000, 3,000, 4,000?
Well, not yet, no.
But we're not
It
gonna
is
have,
totaled at the bottom of my spreadsheet, so.
but we'd have to, what we're saying is we'd like to see it so that we know the total budget is with each of those options, because otherwise we're gonna sit there and go through each one and total it all up to know where we're at.
I have a question.
Let's talk about that afterwards. I'm
We're
not sure.
talking about wages and the potential of being open to hearing about wages. The,
Commission here tonight? Is plan commission here tonight?
the sheriff, instead of, so earlier in his budget, when he talked with us, some of us, he talked about doing a raise on the base instead of across the top to try to close the gap some between his leadership and his duty guys. Would we be willing to have that, hear that conversation? If we're really having a conversation about wages.
You guys paid for that study to be done, though, keep in mind, and they were rolled into that.
Oh, I get that. Yes.
He actually, Christina, to your point, he actually has that in his spreadsheet. Right.
He did have it in a spreadsheet. I took what the wage study was, because I didn't think there's any way we're gonna be able to do it all at once. And so with the sheriff's department, you put it on the base. You could do something and then you could plan future-wise on getting it's all about future planning to hit what's on that wage assignment. But it was just instead of flat across the top. With science.
Creative.
If we were willing to even have the conversation. Oh, there's so many things to look at. There's so many things to look at.
So we cut just shy of $250,000 out of the general fee.
A quarter of a million.
We cut 241,173.
Yikes. You got a long way to go.
Oh, way to go.
No, but that had in all kinds of different wage increases.
That's with no personnel.
That's no.
241.
241,173. We didn't address any personnel yet.
Without cutting anything.
Personnel.
Yeah, any personnel.
Without cutting.
Without touching personnel. But that personnel isn't necessarily what the wage study said though either, right?
Right.
You had some.
I really hope the loading positions, this is gonna go a lot better. And then revenue replacement and then two lit. Really hope we'd have more room.
Why do you think I was deep sighing last meeting? Because I just felt the anxiety.
Okay, so new numbers with what's cut. Right down on the salary base, the percentages. What else? Those are the only two things I heard you tell me.
Duplicates out.
I think we've got those because those were with the,
Yeah.
now, with the exception of, you guys have still left all 3 million in the insurance plus the ARPA money. And then we have that extra million for insurance. So right now we have $3, $4, $5 million for insurance.
million on there, isn't it?
But it's not sustainable.
Therein lies your opportunity. Well, I think I agree with Christina. I think we gotta keep that in. You can't look at it that as being an answer for today. You're not gonna be able to figure that out tomorrow.
Be nice to broad stroke a couple things like the pay parity and just say, okay, we feel like we need to address this. Let's get there in 2 years.
At least make,
Try and
1,000, 2,000, try to get some 2,000.
I don't think we can get there in 1 year and do anything else for anybody, right? So I think that's probably where it's got to start, is that pay parity conversation here at Highway.
Let's just look and see where we're at before we make any decision.
North Southern London. They paid for the study. Officials they know what they're talking about. Also, it was a year where we didn't give a pay increase, we did a bonus instead. I think we shouldn't consider that too. I don't like that. We did that COVID year, right?
That was post-COVID. I think it was
post-COVID.
I wasn't here for it, I don't know. Yeah, I sent that information to Dan last
You tell me
night.
that, yeah.
From 2017 to current, what we did every year for increases. That was just,
We get
2020, they did
Yeah.
a $4,000 increase across the board. I remember when that happened.
Yes.
Then in 2021, that's when we removed the steps. They had 27 pays. We did some things with COMA. So yeah, it's different across the board. So then we went to percentages back in 2022. Kept that. So I have this. I can send it to all of you so you have it. So you can see where we've gone.
You print it?
Yeah, why
Look at
don't you print it
morning.
and have it for us?
Please. The only way to get to the percentage increases was to get rid of some of the other stuff.
I just hate percentages. I mean, I get it, but the rich get richer and the poor stay poor.
Well, and that's where every so many years you have to have a recalculation of that. So those bottom percentage people would get maybe a 3%, and the top is going to get 2%.
2% or something. And you gotta decide where that line is, what's
Well,
the
you can
dollar?
figure that out.
You would have really liked RJ's spreadsheets.
That made it somewhat easier to calculate wages for
Decision made on that in there tomorrow.
RJ?
or Jay or Chip.
I already said yes to Chip.
Chip's coming.
I was the one that asked, I was the one that asked.
Say yes to, yes, but let's take a look at the figures tomorrow and decide if we need to have Sheriff come in.
Yeah, I agree.
How many got your,
Send there, you take it.
Or maybe you can send it. I'll get a hold of him. He's in Maryville, maybe he can also.
were these what we did the last few years?
Thank you, Aaron.
Yep, and you're right, we did do appreciation bonus and ARPA bonus, and that's not on here, but I can add that.
That ARPA bonus was a 7% increase,
It was $1,000.
but it was 7. No, not the bonus.
I was just talking about the bonus.
I want the
We had
bonus.
COMATs since, we only had the COMATs and the, those different steps since 2021.
No, we had A, B, and Cs. So what we did was we got rid of the lowest paid tier, which was As, and we shifted them all up. So then we've only had COMAs, As, and Bs since then. But now you'll see on the study that was done, we now have re-implemented Cs. Because they justify a higher wage than Bs.
A is the top of that.
A is the lowest paid.
A is the lowest paid. Sorry, I always think to myself, it's the opposite of what you think.
Yeah, you would think, but yeah.
Okay. We'll suspend the meeting until tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. Thank you all.
Yes.